Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. This is my show. Appreciate you being here as usual. Got some good stuff to talk about this week. Got some business to attend to. I'm sure that you've heard me talk about it before. If you follow me on social media, I'm sure you've seen all the flyers I've been posting. But March 31st at Bottle Rocket Social Hall, I am throwing a live event called A City of Innovation with none other than John Jaskulski of Odd Pittsburgh. What is a City of Innovation, you ask? A City of Innovation is a live show and presentation to highlight all the innovations that came out of our city of Pittsburgh. Everything from the Big Mac to the Mr. Yuck sticker to the continuous paper roll to aluminum. You know, there's all kinds of wild shit that I'm sure that you guys have no idea came right from our town. And I urge you to go to bottlerocketpgh.com, go to the shows tab, scroll down to March 31st, and buy yourself some tickets. It's on a Friday night at 8 p.m. Tickets are $10, and there's no better show to go to on that Friday night. I could assure you that. Me and Odd Pittsburgh are going to put on a hell of an event. I'm trying to sell this out. I think we got half the tickets left. You got about 2 weeks to get your tickets, and I urge you to get them now before they are gone. Like I said, March 31st, 8 p.m. at Bottle Rocket PGH. You could grab your tickets now and get ready for a hell of a time. Another thing to bring up, little order of business. I have just put out another pre-order for some brand new podcast merch. I have made a shirt with one of my favorite photos of me as a child. I made some stickers and I posted it online a few times, and people seem to love the photo. It's a picture of me from third grade with the sickest bowl cut you've ever seen in your life, rocking a gold-plated chain, and I don't know. It's a funny ass picture, but I put it on a t-shirt. Pre-orders are open right now. Had about 10 people already order a shirt. Appreciate yins as usual. If you're interested, slide in the DMs at I'll Call You Right Back, or you could email me, I'll call you right back at gmail.com. Grab yourself a shirt while you can. Support the show. If you want to support the show, this is your time. Buy yourself a ticket to this live event that I'm throwing. Buy yourself a t-shirt. If you don't want to spend any money, give me a little rating review for the podcast. That's all you got to do. Only takes a couple seconds of your time, and it is much appreciated. But the reason that we are here this week I sit down with a talented soul. Tyler Podomik is an artist. He's a ceramicist. He's a painter. He's a jack of all trades, honestly. Tyler and I have been introduced by a previous guest, Stephen Jaskulski, who is also a very incredible painter. But whenever I was talking to Stephen Jaskulski, or Jazz, he told me that there was someone in the city named Tyler Podomik who will be known as one of the best painters to come out of Pittsburgh. So obviously I had to get him on here. I had to find out what he was about. Took one look at his Instagram and was kind of blown away by anything I saw. And I hit him up and I had him come down to the studio, and we had a long conversation about anything you could think of. We talk about shitty jobs we had out of high school. We talk about how he became the person that he is today. We talk about CCAC saving his life, and we talk about a whole slew of other things. It is a fascinating conversation. I'm really, really happy to have, met Tyler, heard what he's about, kind of hear his origin story to becoming this incredible painter that he is. And we also talk about his first solo exhibition on April 14th at Studio 4 in Bloomfield. You could go to his Instagram, Tyler Podomik, TYLERPODOMIK. All the details will be on there. April 14th, I believe the show starts at 5:30. He is going to have some incredible works. Just take a look at his Instagram. You'll see what he's all about. You'll see what kind of style he has, what kind of works he does. And it's going to be a great show. It was a great conversation. I'm excited to see the full spectrum of everything after hearing about what he's told me. And I think you're really going to enjoy our conversation. So without further ado, episode 237 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Tyler Podomik.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast.
Nice.
This is low pressure.
Nah, it's just funny. You're like, it's exciting. I'm excited. That I was reading something about like nervousness and excitement, and
You get nervous about stuff?
I get excited.
Yeah.
So it can feel nervous, but I've learned to like tell the difference between nervous and like excited. So I'm like, oh, nice.
I get nervous.
That's why the beer is nice, because I'm like, oh, let's relax. You know?
Yeah, I get it.
relaxing.
I used to get like crazy nervous whenever I'd be having random, like whenever I first started this, my nerves would be just through the roof. But
Then you get started and you're like,
after you
this is
do
easy,
it,
you know?
yeah, it's like people are more. My goal is to like try to make people not nervous. You know, people will come in and think that I have like a fucking agenda of like, you know, deep questions about it, but it's really just. I mean, have you listened to an episode?
I've listened to multiple. So my first experience with your podcast was Daisy Howitt.
Oh, how do you know him?
So I originally met him through clay classes at CCAC, like ceramics classes.
Yeah.
And then we started like hanging out and like doing more stuff like outside of the classes, like get-togethers with like throwing pottery and stuff, things like that. I mean, we just ended up spending a lot of like extracurricular time outside of class because the professor was a good catalyst for like bringing people together outside of the studio. So we just we've wood-fired kilns overnight together and shit. And I can swear, like I've heard people swear.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, for sure.
Say whatever you want.
Yeah, and he's great. He is
A great guy.
such
My biggest influence growing up.
Really?
Yeah, it's my cousin.
Wow. Oh yeah, maybe I didn't. Yeah, because you were like
First cousin.
And yeah, because
His dad and my mom are brother and sister.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So that's so funny. He was like instrumental in my life just by being him, not doing anything. Because as you know, I mean, I don't know what he's like around family or something, but he is so strange in the best way I could ever say that. Like
100%.
There's nobody in the world like Daisy, and he is so influential without trying to be. Like he just would work. So he's so good at things, especially clay. Like he like changed my brain. Like when I first got into art, like anyway, you will probably get into that some, but like he like changed the way I thought about stuff because he was so just different about it. You know, everyone's in there like, let's throw some pots. And Daisy's just like, yeah.
I mean, ever since we were, you know, young, dude, like that was like my guy to look up to. Like he was the one that was like skateboarding in like some penny loafers and like always wore what he wanted and, you know, did what he wanted. You know, he had the like crazy hair and everything.
So individual.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like the Zen master. Like he has such a calming energy. Like we always called him like Daisy was a tree.
Yeah.
Because he's just like a large tree that has like this wisdom and is also a little funny.
Yeah.
And like has just like,
and it's just like a gangster at anything he does, really.
Seriously.
You know, like
he's
even,
an incredible artist.
Even before ceramics, he, you know, just drawing, you know, immediately I saw him doing it.
Yeah.
Wanted to get into it, realized I was trash, and then, you know, just loved everything about it. But yeah, it's a very small world. I didn't know that you guys had any history about that. That's cool, though.
Yeah, it just happenstance. He went to the class I took, and I was just like, whoa.
So you're from Pittsburgh?
Yeah, born and raised.
Where'd you grow up?
Excuse me. I went to, I grew up in Lincoln Place, like down like right in Munhall area.
Yeah.
And then around like middle school, late elementary school, I think, sometime around then, I moved over to like Jefferson Hills, West Mifflin.
Is that
like right on the border?
Where'd you go to high school?
Jefferson Hills, or Thomas Jefferson.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2012.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah. That's a small world. I had no idea. I
mean, I'm 28, so he's a little older than me, but
he's I mean, I had no idea really your history at all. I didn't know if you were from around here.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't know any of your background. I mean, Jazz was
that's
the
great.
one who.
That's cool that I like that. That's
awesome. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even really, you know, I dig in enough to kind of get an idea if people are, kind of pieces of shit or not, if I should have them on. But other than that, I try to keep it as vague as possible so I could kind of dig in an organic way here. But Jazz was the one who put me on to you.
I love that guy.
Yeah, like incredibly talented. And then he's
like Daisy. He is so unique.
That's the word.
He is like, you don't replicate people like them.
Yeah.
Like, they're not the same at all, but Jazz is the same way where like, there's just nobody like him.
Yeah.
And
very unique.
I love that about people, because you can meet a million people that are like, oh, it's copy and paste kind of.
Oh yeah.
And it's just not like
and then he has a great story to go along with it all that you're just like, Jesus.
Doesn't he? It's so good.
Heavy, and you're like, all right, heavy. I guess. Heavy story.
He's like a heavy guy too. Like he put like how Daisy was for you, he put a lot of meaning like into my life, so he just like, anytime I'm wondering what I'm gonna do, I'll like talk to Jazz, and he just like immediately I find meaning and stuff again.
Yeah.
It's just like he can put like a purpose
if behind things
for a day or something. He's like heavy
realignment.
Yeah,
he's a good way to realign things. But yeah, he I was blown away by him, and then he was like, honestly, this dude Tyler is he's crazy.
I was listening. I actually was listening to his podcast that he did on his talk he did on your podcast in my studio with him while he was in town, while we were working together. So he's dope. Like losing his mind, and I'm like, dude, like this is great. He's like, oh.
Yeah, I was happy that we were able to line up. I was happy that he put me in contact with you because, obviously your work is pretty impressive in itself as well.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, were you always an artist?
No, not even close.
What were you into whenever you were younger? You weren't like drawing or painting or anything?
No, I was just into video games. Video games and smoking weed.
What kind of video games? Were you like a sports video game or like an RPG type?
I was all of it. So I grew up with two kids, Brandon and Josh, and they were like around where I grew up.
Yeah.
We would I'd take my PlayStation and go to Brandon's house, and Josh would bring his to Brandon's house, and we'd just stack the TVs and play all night. So it started out Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, and then it went into like PlayStation 2 games, and it went into like Call of Duty, Madden. We were always playing Madden.
Yeah.
Eventually later got into NHL, and
what a weird time it was to like NBA, set up TVs.
Dude, I know. We say all the time, if we would have just recorded, like back then, probably would have taken us somewhere because we played so much. We got so good. We were 16. We were doing all-nighters and going to school in the morning. Sleeping in classes. Like, it just was, I love that time. Looking back, I love that time in my life so much.
Yeah, we were like my friends, my first experience of it was like whenever Halo came out, we would, go sit in my buddy Chris's basement. There'd be like 6 of us, and we would just have like, crazy, turn the TVs back and just play Halo all night, and just.
It's the best memories.
Yeah, it really was. Like it was, the sleepovers with all your friends before you could drive, before everyone had cell phones.
Yep.
That was like a pivotal moment in life that, it sucks that, I don't know if kids have that now.
I don't know if they do.
Everyone's just playing online with each other. They don't have to be in the same room.
Exactly. And the communities are different because there's so much content online that it's like no one plays the same anymore. Like we were just like playing to have fun, and then we got good. And now it's like, oh, if you play video games, you can be a Twitch streamer and like do this and you make money and copy this guy's style from YouTube. It's like, we were just like,
it's weird. Everything is just like a big replication of everyone.
Yeah.
I try to seek out who's not like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I do all right with it. But you, if you're into video games, like what's your idea what you want to do as a career?
At that time?
Like back in the day.
Oh, I had no clue. I was pretty lost. I have a great mom, but like, I just didn't know. I didn't have any direction, Like I was always working with my uncle and my uncle's best friend, so kind of 2 uncles.
Yeah.
I was always like going to work in roofing and construction and all that stuff. But I didn't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
It's funny now because I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
But that kind of instilled like a work ethic in me, but I didn't want to use it ever.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to just play video games. And when I started smoking weed at like 15, I just wanted to smoke weed all the time. And that's it. I finished pretty low in my class in high school. Like
School just wasn't for you?
Well, it wasn't until college. And
Yeah.
then it was like really for me. I was very interested in school and college. But when I was playing video games, I was very good at them. And I
Like good enough where you thought that could be a career?
dude, I was like 100th in the world in Call of Duty for like 3 years.
Wow.
And so was my friend Josh. And we would just
Yins were grinding on that.
just hours and hours. Like, you know how they would say like days played?
Yeah.
Dude, I would every Call of Duty game I had like 36 days played.
Oh, my
like just so many. And that's where what's funny is now that I look back on it, that's where I got so good at like passion kind of a little bit. Cause I was like, I would stay up 5 or 6 a.m. with him. He was always a year ahead of me in high school. I'd stay 5, 6 a.m., play all night, get an hour and a half of sleep, go to school and like sleep in homeroom.
Yeah,
you know,
just
do whatever.
serve time.
Yeah, just serve time. And then as soon as school ended, I'd fall asleep for a couple hours and wake up at like
and do it
7
again.
and eat dinner with my family and just crush like all the time. And it's funny now because I took that routine accidentally into art when I started making it. And that helped me get good at that and like dedicate and like find passion in art because it kind of like I had no clue that I wanted to do that. But
So up into high school, like you have no experience doing any sort of art?
no, like I took classes. Like I actually met Cameron Bell, Charlie Slum in an art class, and I liked the art classes because the teachers weren't on your ass.
Yeah.
That was the coolest part about it. Mr. Salopek in TJ High School was so cool. He had like a big eagle bird chest tattoo that he'd like leave unbuttoned. He was just cool. He's like plays guitar. He would always like talk about his band and shit. And then he'd be like, do some of this art. And I was like, this is cool just because it wasn't like somebody on your ass. You know, I was always listening to music and had headphones in. So I'm always getting yelled at in the hallways for music and headphones and stuff. It's just like everyone was on your shit, you know?
Yeah.
They don't treat you like an adult.
That's exactly it. You can't even chew gum, carry a water
I'm like,
bottle.
yeah, this is insane. Like, and like, I knew at the time that I just like, I mean, you think you're the shit, you know, you think like, oh, I'm 18. I know what I'm 17, 15. I know.
No one's telling me
Don't
shit.
bother me. And it's kind of like that. I had that attitude. That drastically changed. But yeah, as far as art goes, I took the art classes like everyone else and I didn't. Even the stuff I did, Cameron thinks that I was good, but I mean, I didn't have any interest.
Yeah.
Just play video games, man.
Well, obviously everyone in high school is like trying to figure out what they're going to do after it. So like, I mean, what was your trajectory?
No plan.
Were you going to school?
I didn't plan on going to college. Honestly, this is like the serendipitous way things happen is that they threw a graduation party for me. Like, you know, you graduate high school, you do a graduation party, you know, at like the pavilion at the park and stuff.
Yeah.
And everyone was always asking me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like, what do you want to do? And I would always say everything because I didn't want to pick one thing. I always thought that was kind of stupid. And just out of ignorance, you know, I was like, which I still kind of agree with that. Picking one thing is kind of dumb, but you know, that one thing you find your passion in and then it's worth it. But yeah, I would always just say everything. I'd be like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? I'd be like, everything. I want to try everything. I don't know what I like. You know, I was kind of like honest in that way. And, that's kind of what it was. And after high school, I graduated. And since I didn't know what I wanted to do, like I said, my uncle was a little bit of guidance. And he was like, you should just go get a job, work 40 hours a week. Just see what the work life is like. Like, you need to go get a job. Don't be a piece of shit, you know, just go work.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I got a 40-hour-a-week job, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., 5 days a week, or whatever it was, at Bowser Automotive, parking cars.
You already know I worked there.
What's that? Yeah.
I was the youngest service writer on the desk for a while.
Oh yeah. Was it? You weren't up my way, were you?
I grew up in Elizabeth Forward.
Were you in 51? Were you at 51?
Yeah, I worked.
What year were you there?
I worked at GM with Dave Berger, all these dudes.
So what year? Wait, do you know what I did? What year were you there?
I was there probably 2009, 2010. And then I was there for about 3 years with the Solage brothers, the old Salai brothers.
Mike Salai.
Dude, Dan Salai.
Destroyed his car.
Yeah, well, good, because he was a fucking cock. You know, I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I got a story about you. So were you there in like 2012, 13?
Yeah, I was actually, because whenever I went to, because
Wow.
after I was at Bowser working there,
Right.
Selah actually fired me. I was the youngest person on this service writer desk, right? Listen to this. So Mike Selah fires me, and honestly, the only shitty boss I've had besides for one other person, so fuck him. The only time I was the youngest service writer, so being the youngest person and everyone else working there
Yeah.
for like 15 years, all the shit ran downhill.
Right.
So I'm dealing with all this bullshit, and all this bullshit starts to get poured on me, and I'm like, I'm 19,
Yeah.
18 years old,
Yeah,
and then someone comes in and is like giving me shit, some old lady about windshield wipers. I remember it. And I was just like, I wasn't going to sit there and let this lady just like literally scream in my face.
Yeah, of course. Respect
And-
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like, I'm literally not disrespecting this lady. So, she complains to him. He comes in and he, starts like pulling this like power trip, fires me, says, we got to let you go. I said, whatever, dude. Only job I've ever been fired from. I consider myself a pretty great worker, but like, fired from that.
Man.
3 or 4 years later, whenever I got a PTI, I was working at a gas station overnight. The manager of the parts at GM saw me working at this gas station and was like, what are you doing here? He was like, just come back to Bowser. You could wash cars
you went
after.
back.
Well, I was working under someone better now. I didn't have to deal with them idiots.
right.
So I washed the parts trucks and did all that. And then, I was there. I probably spent 4 years there maybe. Went to the golf outings, all that.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm glad. Well, not glad, but I'm happy that you had like a shitty experience there as well, because
I loved everyone there but that guy.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a different experience what I had, and I can understand that because the people weren't bad. I do remember having good relationships, like the mechanics and stuff, and like the other lot attendants.
Yeah.
But man, management was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
just like shitty people, And man, did you ever hear about the lot attendant running the van through the garage door?
I don't know. I feel like it sounds vaguely familiar.
Dude, 6 a.m. I pull the van out. And at this time, I got a 4-hour-week job, and they drug test.
Yeah.
So I stopped smoking weed.
Yeah.
I wasn't even high doing this shit. I was just dumb.
Yeah.
I pull the van. There's like a courtesy shuttle to take people home.
Yeah.
They drop their car off. I drive them home. And I'm fresh 18. Like I graduated high school at 17, turned 18 in July.
Yeah.
So I'm fresh 18. And pull the car out of I back it out down past all the mechanic lifts.
Where were you at? What building?
Hyundai.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hyundai.
Yeah. I'm familiar.
Yeah. And so I'm turning it, and the hose you have to drive over to get the door to come up.
Yep.
Well, they didn't turn the switch on. And so I go over the hose, and I'm just like, whatever. I'm waiting for it to go up, and it doesn't go up. So to this day, I don't know how I did it, but for some reason I just floored it. I have no, like the dumbest thing I've ever done. I can sit here like with clarity, thinking back to that day and going, my foot was on the brake and I was looking at the garage door and I knew it was closed. And then my foot was on the gas and I could see outside.
Yeah.
And it didn't open.
Yeah.
I wrecked through it. And then, so they were like, what the? Mike runs out of his, because he had the office down in Hyundai.
Down in Hyundai.
Yeah. And he's like running down. It's like 6:30 in the morning. And he's like, what the fuck did you do? Are you kidding me? And I was like, I'm just sitting there like, I don't know. I have no explanation for you. All I know is I fucked up big time.
Yeah.
And I'm through the door. And
Yeah.
the door's bent onto the massive van. Like it's stuck.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy scene. So now I'm the kid who's like this 18-year-old kid who just started working there, ran the van through the garage door.
Yeah.
They didn't fire me. They were like, well, basically they made me pay for it. I was getting paid $8.75 an hour.
I know.
This is horrible.
Crazy.
I mean, how much more do you want? I mean,
I know. I get it.
It's like they can't pay me a ton to just be like, oh, here's all this money. So, but what was ridiculous is that they asked me to pay for the damages of the garage door and the van.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, all right, whatever.
What, are you going to work for free for a year?
So basically they were taking money out of my wage, and I was getting paid under minimum wage to pay this off for like 3-4 months. And I didn't have any problems for like probably 6-7 months there.
Yeah.
No problems. And then the van, so it's already paid off, whatever. I'm driving somebody home, And this dude in the passenger seat, right down by where the old Dunkin' Donuts used to be, where Century 3 used to be.
Yep.
Like there's like Wendy's, Dunkin' Donuts, and then Lebanon Church.
Yep.
I was merging on the Lebanon Church to go up towards Dean Honda and drop the guy off that down there. And I'm like on the merge, I'm like in the yield sign, and this dude takes off from the yield sign. And this guy in the passenger seat screaming at his wife, just like, I'm driving him home and he's just arguing like crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of stressed. And I'm looking, I see the dude leaves the yield sign, and I'm looking back and there's no cars coming. So I just I start to merge into traffic, and the dude stopped, and I nail him right in the back of his car. So I'm rear-ending somebody now 7 months later in this same van. So I'm 18, I'm fucking up quick. Like I'm like, all right, wrecked twice already. And so then they were basically like, all right, that wasn't your fault, because there's cameras and stuff. Like they ended up looking at footage of the traffic cameras, and they were like, that's not really your fault. And so there was a little bit of forgiveness for that. But I drove a van through garage door, so they were like,
you were on thin ice already.
Yeah, super thin ice. And then the big one happens. So at this point, it's like winter now, like a couple months out. Like it might have been 1 month after that little rear end, like fender bender thing. And I'm taking not Mike's car up. Whose was it? Mike's car was parked down there, and I hit it. But I'll tell you how I hit it. So it's like Friday, 2:30. I'm about to get off work. And the dude comes over to me. He goes, yo, run this guy's car up to the detail shop. We're going to drop it off and just walk back. Yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. So I get in his car and I drive it. So dumb. And as you go up through the lots, for people who don't know, there's like cars stacked everywhere back there. Yeah. And lot attendants and how people park them, they'll leave a gap so that you can turn in between some of the cars and go behind them into the grass and take shortcuts down to the detail shop. Yeah. Well, it was snowing real bad. And there was like kind of some empty spaces up there where like whole shipment just got let out, and there was like a whole bunch of empty space. So I'm up there drifting in the snow on top of the hill. And I'm like, this is a great idea. Like I'm having so much fun. Brakes lock up. I slide all the way down the hill, like probably 100 yards or 50 yards. So like something like that. Yeah. Just gaining speed. Brakes are locked. I couldn't do anything. I'm like pulling the e-brake. I'm like, that doesn't work. Popping the e-brake back down. I'm trying to just gas it, trying to gain some traction. And I just slam into It's funny is I just parked these cars like recently, like a day or two ago in this spot. And I just slammed this guy's car, and I like accordion just all these cars together. Mm-hmm. And so I hit the back wheel well. I snapped the wheel off the car that was parked. I'm just like watching this happen. I'm like, fuck, man. Yeah. I had enough time to think about it and be like, this is fucked. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. Well, I hit one car, hit into two, hit into the third. And I basically just got out of the car, and I walked down to the Hyundai office, and I walked into Mike's office, and I just looked at Mike, and I was like, Mike, and he's like, oh no, not again. Again? Are you fucking kidding me? I was like, dude, I'm quitting right now. I was like, I'm not coming back. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm not coming back. And he's like, all right, I understand. You know, they had to go like down a drug test. You know, every time you wreck there, you go get a drug test. Yeah. And I was passing all of them. Yeah. But as soon as I quit that job, I was like, I'm smoking weed again. I was like, this is fucked up.
You wrecked into his car though?
No, yeah. Like
that was one of his cars. Yeah.
Like, so they were Acadia Denali's. Yeah. So I like parked the new ones, and for some reason his was parked down at the end, just next to all of them. Of course. And he's like, what the fuck, you know? Yeah. Now, granted, they give him the car. He's not hit. You know, I know. Like, but like, no, it's hilarious. I was like, it's like, man.
So you had a wonderful experience up at Bowser.
Well, and you know what? Like how they made me pay for the garage door. They tried to put there was like $13,000 in damages. They tried to put 8,000 of it on me as I quit, because they were like, this is your fault 100%. We saw you drifting. We saw you sliding. And I was like, fuck, you know, like, yeah. So I ended up like lawyering up and
working out.
Kinda. I ended up getting like $3,000, having to pay for $3,000.
Goodness.
I know, right out of high school, like, you're a fuck up, you know, like 100%. You're doing dumb stuff and being dumb. Yeah. And learning the hard way for sure. And I ended up paying like $300 a month for a while to get to that $3,000.
That's crazy.
And then I ended up getting like a CCAC college refund check for financial aid, and I just threw him the rest of it.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking get this off my back.
My goodness.
Yeah.
What a wild start to,
man. Bowser, dude.
to working.
Working wasn't for me. Working for myself is. I can say that for sure.
I could definitely agree with that.
I knew I've always lived my life off intuition.
Yeah.
I just knew intuitively that was the wrong space for me to be in,
Yeah. I mean, it's weird how many people I know that started off there and worked there.
Had a bad time.
Just a wild time there.
Yep.
But so, I mean, you weren't going to school at that time. So, you said you got a refund check. So were you up at CCAC?
Yep. Yeah. So CCAC changed my life for sure. It doesn't happen to everybody, but that was.
And you're still not doing art at this time.
No.
You're just wrecking cars.
Nope. No art. Had no direction. And now I'm back smoking weed, and I'm convinced at that time in my naivete, just dumb kid mindset. I'm like, see, I wasn't smoking weed. I fucked all this shit up. I'm like, I should be smoking more weed. I'm just I'm just being stupid.
Yeah.
And so I started smoking weed again. I went to CCAC. My uncle at the time, who had referred me to go get the Bowser job, was like, you need to go. I was like, what do I do? I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, what do I do? He goes, you need to go to school for business and get a business degree. You can use that anywhere.
Yeah.
Obviously, what degrees are nowadays.
Yeah.
He was wrong, but it put me in the right direction. So I went to CCAC, which is literally a block from my house. I live right next to CCAC South.
Yeah.
And so I go there, and I go as a business major, and I do okay. I mean, I felt the pressure of like fucking up.
Yeah.
And I do all right. But I knew I didn't like it. I just wasn't into it. It's business, it's math, it's business management classes and things like that. But what I did like all of a sudden was going to school. I liked carrying books. I liked taking notes. All of this is new. Cause in high school, I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to my guidance counselors after the first semester. I changed my major 4 times before I got to art. And how that happened was, so I'm at CCAC business, and then I go to my guidance counselor, and I'm like, all right, well, I don't really like this. And she goes, what do you like? And I go, well, I like this and this. So then she transferred me to communication, because I said I like talking to people. I like meeting new people and talking about experiences and stuff like that. I liked astronomy a lot at the time. I was really into ancient Egyptians and Mayan shit and all kinds of old what do you call it? The megalithic structures and stuff like that. I was really into all that on my own. My buddy was into that too, who I'd play video games with. So we'd be playing Madden and just talking about shit like that.
Okay.
So I told her that, and she's like, well, okay, communications degree is good for you. And I was like, all right. So I was in astronomy, philosophy, oral communication, things like that. And through that, I think if I didn't meet his name's George Jaber. He was a professor at CCAC. He was the oral communication teacher. And I seriously think if I did not meet him, my entire life would be so different.
Really?
It's like a path shifting parallel universe, in my opinion. If he wasn't in there in my life, I just would have continued down a different path that would have never made it here.
Yeah.
And the reason being, it was for the same reason I liked my art teacher in high school. I walked in there, and to the whole class, he was like, don't bring notebooks, don't bring pencils. This is an oral communication class. You're going to talk, and we're going to talk to each other, and we're going to learn things about each other. And that fucking blew my mind. I was like, he's in there talking about stories from his childhood and how he fucked up and all this stuff. And I just was like, he's such a human being. And the way he was treating his students was so human-like.
Yeah.
Not just like students.
Yeah, same level.
And I became so close with him. I was going to his office hours. I was talking to him about my breakup with my girlfriend after high school. I was talking to him about just everything. The whole Bowser shit. And what's funny is, so I'm in a second semester now with him. Okay, timeline's kind of screwed up, but whatever. It's I'm now taking a second one of his classes, right? So I'm still kind of remaining close with him. And on that second semester of taking his classes, I took a painting class, and I dropped it because I was scared. I was like, I never painted before. I don't want to take an art class. That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Literally, is what I thought. And he knew that I did that. So I went the whole semester with him basically berating me about, you should do shit you're scared of. If you're scared of that, it's probably a good thing, et cetera, et cetera. And so the next semester, I didn't take another one of his classes because I ran out. He only had like 2 classes there. But I scheduled the painting class again. And that's when it all started. Because what's funny is I missed the first painting class. I just missed class, first semester, like the first fucking day of school this semester. I just missed class.
Oh yeah.
And so the painting professor at the time, Scott Cornish, who I'm sure I'll expand upon more, him and George were really tight. So George already told Scott about me and the type of person he thought I was and things like that. And Scott messages George and goes, "Who's this fuck up you're recommending me who's missing the first class and not showing up?" And he was like, "Oh, that's Tyler. He'll be fine. He's just an idiot. Just give him some guidance." Whatever.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed. And the first class was on Tuesday. I missed. I came in Thursday. Scott's berated me. He's like, "Mr. Podomik." He's like, "You missed my class." I was like, "Shit, you already know my name." Yeah. I was like, but it turns out him and I became closer than George and I ever were. We became so tight.
I feel like Daisy has told me about him too.
Yeah. That's who I connected with Daisy through.
Oh, okay.
And because Scott, he was the painting professor. He's just the art professor at CCAC South.
Yeah.
But he's a ceramic. That's like, he makes pottery. He's
okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, and his guidance, he just kind of, I've asked him about this because now I've been friends with him for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
I've asked him like what I was like then. And he was just like, "You were very lost and like high all the time.
A wild stallion that needs reined in a little bit."
Reined in, man. And that's what he did. And I just remember I didn't even like painting the first couple classes. I was like, this is weird. And I remember him.
Were you all right though at it?
Obviously, you start out with still lifes.
Yeah.
You start out with the basics, just looking at something and painting it. And I was okay, but I wasn't like, oh, this is what I meant to do.
Yeah.
It's probably like the 3rd or 4th project. So we're a couple weeks in.
Yeah.
And he's over my shoulder and I remember him telling me, we're painting a vase and a teapot or whatever. And I remember him telling me to stop looking at the teapot and stop looking at the vase and look at the shape in between those 2 objects and draw that shape. Don't draw the objects. Draw whatever shape that negative space makes.
Yeah.
And I remember it just clicked. And since then, he kind of changed the way I looked at things.
Yeah.
It was like one of those moments where now you see it, you can't unsee it. And it just was lights out ever since. That was the only thing I wanted to do.
Wow.
It was just like everything changed. And like he was pretty adamant about like hammering me with guidance. Not being hard on me, but like making me tell the truth. Like if I was like, oh, I went home and painted 4 paintings and maybe I only painted 3.
Yeah.
And he would be like, he'd get to the bottom of shit like that. Like little white lies, just like, cause I was like not confident and I was like kind of insecure. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to sound better than I was.
Yeah.
He'd always make sure like I was dialed on that thing. He's like, if you painted 2, say you painted 2 and be confident about it. He's
Holding
like,
you accountable.
Exactly. Hold me accountable. And that was the first person that was ever like hard on me on that shit.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I needed. Like
wow.
Through and through. That's exactly what I needed.
So how long did you spend at CCAC?
3 years. 3 years. So yeah, like I did those 2 semesters or 4 semesters or whatever, or however many it is.
You end up getting a degree?
Yeah, I graduated with an art degree, 2-year degree.
2-year degree in art. What was your goal with it?
I didn't really have it. Scott was giving me goals.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I liked that. I did well in that. But my goals, I didn't really have, I wanted to be great. Like I started painting okay, let me backtrack. So I'm in that class and after that first painting class ends, that's a spring semester. So in that summer, I went so hard into art that fast and painting. I went so hard into painting that quickly that I turned my mom's 2-car garage loft. I turned it into a full-on studio. I moved all the furniture out. It's been there my whole life, but it was like a storage space for our family.
Yeah.
I moved all the furniture to the side, bought a bunch of easels, bought a bunch of canvas. I just painted all summer long.
Wow.
I just like sunk my teeth into it hard. And I came back and I took Scott's painting 2 class in the fall. And he's like, "What have you been doing all summer?" Because we've been emailing a little bit. And I was like, I came back with like 20 paintings, 10 paintings, just like all new shit, like surreal, like not school projects, like shit I wanted to make.
Yeah.
Like Wu-Tang babies and fucking surrealist dolly pictures and all kinds of stuff like that, just painting portraits and finally just finding out what I wanted to paint. You know, I like Basquiat. I painted a bunch of Basquiat portraits.
Yeah.
So that's just what happened. And then like my goals started because I'm at that time.
Yeah, you're eventually trying to make money at this.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how you're going to pay bills.
Right.
Cash rules everything around me.
Yeah, exactly. And I was hard on learning that at first. I just knew I wanted to paint and I wanted to be good at it. And I wanted to I haven't had a path and I haven't had a lot of passions. I know I'm so passionate about this. I would die for it.
Yeah.
And now I'm deciding that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Now I've gotten into other things like sculptures and stuff, but
no video games still?
Art itself. Man, I got rid of my PlayStation with fucking vengeance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I threw that shit out the window and like I hit it with an axe. I was like, this has to end.
Yeah.
Because
that's wild.
I remember coming back. I came back from Edinburgh. Now that's fast forwarding a little bit, but I came back from Edinburgh and I was going to go to graduate school for sculpture and ceramics.
Yeah.
And I was spending so much time on video games again.
Okay.
It just kind of came back. Like there's new games out and shit. And I wasn't really into it. But now that I'm back home and around my buddies again, we're like, let's game.
It's easy to fall into it again.
Exactly. I literally destroyed it and I haven't looked back since.
So you come out and you're in your mom's loft and you're painting and you're going hard at it. You go to CCAC, you take his painting too.
Yep.
And like what is is your introduction to ceramics there too?
Exactly. Yeah. Scott taught ceramics too, ceramics as well. So I ended up taking painting 1, 2, and 3 with him.
You were just a fan of art in general.
It just clicked. Yeah. I was like, this is it. Like, and if I could gas myself up, I was good at it. Like I could see around me. Like I wasn't dumb. Like, and I wasn't trying to be arrogant, I was just trying to like find my place and I would look around me and I was good.
Yeah. You knew that you were a little bit ahead of other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. And I could tell he was being hard on me. So that also showed me it too.
Yeah. To pull that out of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Now at that time, did you think that was reality, that you were going to be able to like get paid from this?
I wasn't even thinking of that. I wasn't even like,
and that's beautiful. That's a sweet, that you're a sweetheart for that because whenever you're just in love with it, you're like, you don't want to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's like whenever I started this, it's like, I'm not even thinking about money. I just want to be good at it.
You just do it because you like it.
Yeah.
And that was it. It's like you found something you like and you were like, maybe down the line, you were like, oh, maybe I can make some money off of this.
Yeah.
But at the time, at its incarnation, you're like, I'm doing this because I love it.
Yeah.
And that now today, as I sit here, is the most important value that I have.
Yeah.
I think personally, like, and I'm sure you would agree. It's like if you couldn't pay me enough money in the world to stop painting, you know, it's like, I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't sell it for anything.
That's interesting that you say that. So you get out and you get that associate's degree. And then, after that, how long after that until you go to Edinburgh?
So I graduated CCAC, took all the classes, ceramics 1, 2, 3, painting 1, 2, 3. I got out of there 2017, I think.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah. And I go to Edinburgh off of Scott's recommendation because they had a good ceramic program.
Like right after that?
Yeah, like 2017, the spring you graduate.
Yeah.
And then my friend Madeline Boucher, who I was in ceramics with, in that CCAC program, and she knows Daisy and everything. We went to Edinburgh together. Okay. Because we were kind of tight. She's like a friend I made through clay, and I was still painting, but I was just psyched on clay. You touch it with your hands, you wood fire it overnight. It's awesome. It's just a sweet environment.
Yeah, for sure.
Good people. And then, I go there in fall of 2017.
How long do you spend there?
2 years. 2017 to 2019. Yeah.
And then you come back. Mm-hmm. And then that's whenever you said you fell back into video games a little bit.
Well, yeah, but when I was at Edinburgh, it kind of was a roller coaster because I went thinking that I wanted to be a painter and a ceramicist. And they have a great ceramics program, but they, in my opinion, now people would disagree because there's a lot of good painters that come from it, but in my opinion, they have a bad painting program. At least for me, I'd say. Like for me, it just was my anti-style, and I wasn't ready to.
What do you mean by that? Like their curriculum was different than the stuff that you wanted? You wanted more freedom?
Yeah, exactly. So for instance, I was like, I was painting those colorful portraits,
Yeah.
like the early versions, and they were just berating me how horrible those were. And they were saying that those, like the teachers there, I was, because you bring in whatever work you had as coming in as a junior from a 2-year college.
Yeah.
I'm not built up and bred as an Edinburgh painter from freshman year. I'm a different kind of painter.
Yeah, you got your own style.
And they are very traditional, blocking in shapes, making things look like, just boring, in my opinion. That's just how I felt. And from there, I was just like, I'm not going to paint here. So I stopped painting for basically those 2 whole years.
Wow.
I did like a semester.
Yeah.
And there's great painters that are like, there's dope people. Like
For
I met
sure.
like Christian Colton, Mary Kate, one of my best friends now. There's dope painters that come from there. It just wasn't for me. So after that semester, I ditched painting. And I just focused on clay for basically a year and a half.
And that's whenever you're making them wild ass sculptures.
That's all the sculptures. Well, it didn't start that way. It started with pots and teapots and big jars. But then I was carving the jars and I was carving shit. And then what was awesome is at Edinburgh in the ceramic studio, you have all the undergraduates in the room, and then right next to the room with all open doors, like it's in the same building.
Yeah.
Is all the graduate students, and they're just grinding away on the craziest work you've ever seen. So as a ceramic student, you're like, I can make a mug and that's it. And then you have all the graduate students that are like, no, you can make this, and you can make this anatomical sculpture, and you can make this funny sculpture.
You see like options,
Exactly.
more expanded options than just like.
And it was like such a mind blowing thing.
Yeah.
You have one girl who's making biological sculptures, then you have another girl that's making full body sculptures of a human being, then you have a guy that's doing wood fired pottery just at a higher level, and it was great to see. So I got really, really close with one of the grad students, and she became instrumental in my life as far as like pushing forward sculpture, pushing my work, bringing painting back into clay, like painting on the surfaces and stuff like that. And
do you still have that romantic idea that you're not worried about money yet? Or you're like when does that creep in as far as like what kind of like, because, in my personal life, my parents are great. My mother and my father, great people, always really did everything they could to ensure that me and my brother had a secure life where we could, graduate and just have a job and not have to really like be worried about it. But in that, there wasn't a lot of room for the creative avenues.
Okay. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if I wanted to, at one point I wanted to go for special effects, my parents paid for my school. I'm spoiled in that way. And they were like, we'll pay for it if you're going to go, be your, the typical shit, engineer.
Something that they will
secure.
view as coming back and giving you something back.
100%. Right. If I wanted to go for photography or any of that shit, those were the arts, there wasn't any money in that.
They're like, they're not like, we're not funding that.
Yeah. So it's like my mind then, I was the same way with you where like, I got out of high school, I failed out of Slippery Rock because I just did not give a shit about school.
I just don't care at that time. Yeah.
And then I jumped into 40 hours a week, just like working at a shitty machine shop for no money, looked like I would be covered in coal every day, just like killing myself for like $10.50 an hour.
Yep.
And then, in that moment there, that's when my mind was like, I need to figure out how I could do it.
Right.
And that's whenever I went to school, and I ended up graduating with like a 3.8. It's just because like you got to be ready for it.
Exactly. We have a similar story because in Edinburgh, that's the same thing I did. Now, I had horrible with math class, so that brought my GPA down, but it's the same thing. I got the highest GPA I could have ever imagined getting.
Yeah.
And to see that from high school, and that's exactly what you're right. Like,
it's such a weird idea to like, because I know when that moment happened for me where I was like, all right, I'm going to go grind.
Yeah.
It's school. Like,
I remember feeling it too. I loved it. Yeah. It becomes, I realized why some people were good in high school. I was like, they were just ready for it.
Yeah.
Like
that's it. Ready for it.
They were disciplined and they found purpose in working. And it's just me, just like a lot of other kids. I was just like, I don't find purpose in this. I'm not
serving.
I wasn't ready for it.
It's literally all I was doing.
I was like, why the hell am I here? Just like another stubborn kid.
I would drive to CCAC and then I would just sleep in my car and not go to school, not go to class or anything.
That's
play
horrible.
spades in the cafeteria. I literally just went there, ran the radio station for a while.
Yep.
But I just did not care about it. But you have that idea as an adult that you're like, I'm going to have to start paying bills if I want to like progress through my life. Yeah. So, I mean, like you get out of Edinburgh and you come back here, what's your mindset there?
My mindset was mostly grad school.
Yeah.
I had put a lot of work in, like you said, I have a similar situation. My mom is very great for allowing me to do what I want.
Yeah.
And she says the same thing to me and my sister and my younger sister. Whatever we want to do, she'll support us as long as we're not fucking up.
Yeah.
Doing a bunch of bad stuff. She's never had like the super financial, she never was able to like pay for my school or anything.
Yeah.
So I was just living off financial aid. And then they get those refund checks and I'd save it, So it's like I'm just paying for food and all that stuff at Edinburgh through the financial aid checks. So I was lucky in that way where she's like, and she also saw I was good and I, from compared to where I was, now she sees me finding passion in something. She wasn't ever going to be one to be like, art's not going to do it for you. You need to find something else. She was just like,
she could see you sink
like,
your teeth in it.
She's like, you love it and I love you. So you can do what you want as long as it makes you happy.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm so grateful for it. And so I get out of Edinburgh and I'm like,
what year is this?
2019. Yeah.
Okay.
2019. So right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so I was dating one of the grad students that I mentioned, and I get out of the pandemic, and she had moved back to Thailand at the time.
Yeah.
Because she was contracted to go teach there and stuff like that. But we were still pretty connected, over FaceTime and just making work together. She'd make work, I'd make work. So we were just constantly motivating each other. I was grateful to just kind of go back right into that studio. I turned that painting studio where I left, I turned it into a ceramic studio and was just making sculptures. I built a couple tables and was just going sculptures every day.
You weren't thrown on a wheel?
I would. My buddy, I have a couple friends that just like have kilns and they'd be like, come throw some pots. And so I'd throw like 30, 20 of them, take me like a night or 2 or 3. And, so it was just like side stuff.
But your main focus was the sculptures.
Yeah. Like I loved just making sculpture straight out of my brain.
Yeah.
And just making it as wild.
Because for people that like don't know what your shit looks like.
Yeah.
And I hate whenever I say like your shit, because I feel like it, takes away from your artwork, but it's wild. It's wild stuff.
Thanks, man.
Very wild.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Doesn't really have rhyme or reason, it seems like, from an outsider's point of view, but it's like you said, just shit in your mind that you want to put out there.
Yeah. That girl taught me a lot about, about how to just turn your thinking brain off and how to turn your hands on.
Yeah.
And just allow what wants to come out of your hands just to come out. And she kind of like was a big facilitator in that. And just through like talking about how to make it and stuff like that. So I'm at my mom's house, just living in that studio every day, just making sculpture after sculpture. And, it was, as far as money goes, like you kept asking, like I was selling a little bit of work. I wasn't selling a ton.
Enough to get by.
Just enough to get by. I mean,
fund your art.
Exactly. Like I was just grateful that my mom never was like, you owe $500 in rent.
Yeah.
Like
my parents begged me to stay home to save money.
She's still begging me, man.
I know. She's like, you could stay here as long as you want.
Exactly. And I'm like, no, I appreciate that, but I'm like, man, you gotta let me fly.
Yeah, I'm an adult. I need to get out there.
And I want to, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so, at that point, I'm just focused on grad school, and she knew that too.
Where at?
So for ceramics, there's a couple of different universities that offer great programs, and some of them don't. So you have to do a lot of research in finding which program is good for what you want to do. So for instance, I was involved in surrealist sculpture. So I wouldn't have went to West Virginia University for their MFA program in ceramics because they're intensely focused on functional pottery.
Like teapots and like vases and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was doing a lot of research into like Texas A&M. There was one professor, Richard James, who I became pretty close with, and he was trying to recruit me pretty hard. This is another area of my life where I just took another turn, and didn't really look back. I was grinding for that grad school. I was doing all the applications. I was writing all the papers. And
well, why did you want to go there? I mean, like what was your motivation to go there? I mean, like if you're going to go to school and you're getting in debt,
Yeah.
you know, like what was your goal?
Well,
out of all that,
the benefit of grad school was that I was going to get it paid for. Because if I get in, they're going to give me a full scholarship and a stipend to live there.
Okay, that makes sense.
So what I wasn't maybe a couple grand a year.
Yeah,
like,
but it wasn't like a huge commitment where you're like, I'm going to be 40 grand a year in debt.
Right,
this shit.
The end goal really was to just get that studio time.
Yeah,
I believed that by having that amount of studio time in that nourishing incubator of where I chose.
Yeah, surrounded by all these people that were going to pull out different things that you needed them to pull out.
And I thrive in those environments.
Yeah.
It's because I'm competitive, but I'm also really, really open to learning. And I try not to have the biggest ego in those because, you know, I want to learn and I want to get better. And I'm like a fucking sponge. Like,
yeah.
But like I said, I'm also competitive. So it's the perfect mix for me.
Yeah, perfect storm of all of it.
Yeah, and you know, I thought that if I would have had that time, I could have made work that was of a certain quality that would get me known or get me into certain residencies to continue, just go from residency to residency where they're just paying for my housing and I just go work there and do some work exchange stuff and just go from place to place. Or the second option, because my first option was always just to make the work and then get by off that.
Yeah.
The second option of going to grad school was to get your MFA so that you can be a professor.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, did you have any idea? Did you have any interest in like teaching?
Scott always told me I would be a good teacher, but as it turns out, I taught through the pandemic and through the year after, and found out that I'm not really into it.
Yeah.
I gave it a real good try, and I taught for like 3 semesters at CCAC.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I didn't know at the time when I said no to grad school. But yeah, I was like,
what made you say no to it though?
Painting.
Oh yeah.
It came back around.
Wow.
Yeah. So I applied. Well, and the pandemic screwed stuff up as it did for everybody.
I guess so. I keep forgetting that we're right around that time.
Exactly. This is I just get out of Edinburgh. It's 2019 and I'm grinding. The pandemic was amazing for me personally, obviously not for millions of people.
Yeah.
Not trying to sound insensitive. But it was amazing for me. I was just in my studio every day.
Yeah, lock yourself up in the tower.
And it was just like amazing.
Yeah.
I felt closer to like creativity than I've ever been. And just in this zone where you're just going to get up and have a cup of coffee and you're right back in that chair.
Yeah, you just don't have you have no distractions because you're not, you know, at that time you're not sure what the fuck is going on.
Right. For artists, man, it was like, well, some people didn't like it because they love that outside influence, but for me, it all came from my head and from what I was watching and reading.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was good for me, I think. So I got into Texas A&M University on a full ride, and they were gonna stipend me and bring me down and all that stuff. And I ended up saying no because at that specific time, when I accepted, it's down in Corpus Christi, right along the coast.
Yeah.
They were having like 1,000 deaths a day for COVID. That was right
whenever it started happening, whenever people didn't really realize
no
what
one
it was
knew what was going on, and everyone was like, oh my goodness. And it was like right in that August, like lockdown was in March and this is August and there's 1,000 deaths a day. And I'm like, I don't want to move right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing well here. So why don't I just put this off for another year? So put it off for another year, and COVID kind of, comes and goes ish a little bit, gets a little nicer. And so the second year, this is now 2021, I basically say, well, let me go look at my options because I made more work. I think I have better work now.
Are you selling work at this time?
I was working at my uncle's box shop. I was like doing carpentry shit. Like my uncle owns like a box and pallet company. So I wasn't really selling work.
Yeah.
I was mostly just like building pallets and building shipping crates and stuff. Yeah. That's always kind of what I've fallen back into when I need some money.
Yeah, you make do with what you got.
Yeah. So, and during that time, I was like, well, let me go and see what my options are. So, I drove up to like Chicago to check out some schools. I made a road trip. I went over to Nebraska. Lincoln is a good MFA program for ceramics. Then I went over to Iowa, went down to Oklahoma. Then I drove all the way down to Texas, down to Corpus Christi, visited the school I already said no to because of the pandemic, because I was going to reapply everywhere. I drove over to like Georgia and a couple other places, and and made my way back home. So now I've seen these places. I see the studios that I'm going to go apply towards.
Yeah.
And one of the places that I applied to was Southern Illinois Carbondale. And I got into there when I applied, around that whole second round of applications. And I accepted there. I was like set to go. I called them, Patty and Matt, and they were like, I'm super grateful for them. I think I've kind of lost their connection now, obviously, because I accepted and then didn't go. Sorry, but life happens. Shit happens. Paths change. But I accepted there. I was like, I'm coming. Gonna make this work. They're two sculptural artists that are super cool. And then I got an opportunity to paint a 27-foot wide by 4-foot tall mural for the Clareton Education Center. Right where
Is that the one with like Tyler Boyd and everything in it?
Yeah. It's Tyler Boyd, Maya Angelou, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that would have been like, that needed to be painted in August, and I had just accepted, say, February. All right, because grad school applications go in on February. I had just accepted end of February, and I'm like, I just got this opportunity like right as I got accepted.
Well, how do you get this opportunity for not painting?
Well, that's funny. Just kind of happens like that sometimes. I don't really know. My mom works for U.S. Steel.
Okay.
But they didn't ask her when they found out that I was her son. Like after they kind of just reached out to me, then they were like, oh, well, now we have to make this happen.
Yeah.
And we were obviously talking pricing and stuff, and I was already accepted to grad school. So I had to make that shitty phone call that was like, sorry, Patty and Matt, but I know I accepted and looking forward to coming and learning with you for 3 years and stuff. But I was like, I'm going to do the mural. I'm going to stay here. I was in a weird mental space. I had just gone through another breakup, and I was like, I was getting into climbing, and I was meeting new people, and Pittsburgh was kind of becoming better for me.
Yeah.
As like that ceramic stuff was kind of dying off, like that connection to the girl I had in Thailand. We started to get like not as close because the pandemic, pandemic pushes us to, without seeing each other for like a year plus.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you keep that together? It was hard. So I was like, everything's kind of changing. It's a new path time. It was just like, I didn't feel like continuing on that same path when this opportunity was presented to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, let's get something fresh and go back to, I was painting on my sculptures. So I was like, let's go try painting again.
Yeah.
And I crushed it, I think.
Yes.
And,
I mean, like that whole mural, like before you did this mural, you were mainly just focusing on ceramics. You're not painting, really?
I'm not painting. No, it was, they looked at my work that I made prior to going to Edinburgh, all the work I made at CCAC, all the work I made in the summers.
Wow.
And they were like, cause my skill level grew to a point where that work was like recognizable and like, you can tell what my work looked like.
Yeah.
And they,
you have a unique style for sure.
Yeah. And they saw that and they were like, that's the style we want. We know you're doing clay and stuff like that, but do you think you could paint us this mural of basically, they didn't even ask me to paint portraits. They were like, we want a mural. And I was like, all right, what about influential figures? So I just went back to what I knew when they asked me, because you're right. I wasn't painting. I was just doing clay stuff.
So I mean, at this point in life,
yes, it's like all over the place. I know.
Well, it's wild because it's like, for obviously, like if you're not focusing on painting and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this big ass mural.
Yeah.
Like, do you have?
It's huge.
I know. I've seen pictures of it, and it's kind of, it blows you away. But like, are you feel like what's your mindset as far as like, can I execute this in a good in a good way?
It's a good question.
Or you fake it till you make it, kind of?
Well, I was
a little
nervous.
bit of both.
It's both, but I was nervous. I was like, well, number one, I just threw away an opportunity.
Yeah.
They were like, come to school for us for free. And I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Like people would kill for that. And it's like, it sounds like stuck up, but I was like, I'm just going to try something else. I got in, that's fine. That was a goal. It was a goal to graduate from there too, but something changed. And I don't know, I just remember what George kind of told me when I initially dropped that painting class.
Feel uncomfortable.
He's like, yeah, just do shit you're scared of, man. And I was like, wow, like it was also, I mean, they paid me a decent amount of money too. So I was like,
this is all right.
That's where the money thing started to come in. Like when it was like, when that mural happened, I was like,
This could be a reality.
I was like, I could do this, which it's what I really love to do.
Yeah.
And I could also get paid for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much, but as long as I can get paid for it and it's enough to pay my car payment and feed me and take care of like
lights that fire in you.
Exactly. So I was like, let's try
the possibility.
And
that's a reality.
And I was also I got into dating like the girl who I'm dating now, and she's very business minded, and she's kind of like, if you want to do that opportunity, that makes sense to me, you know. So there's a lot of people like even besides her that were just backing me to like do it on my own, you know. Like, you can do school, of course, you know you can, but can you?
And this was in Clairton?
Yeah, this is Clairton Education Center.
Now, how long does this mural take?
Probably about. I painted it in my studio.
Oh, I thought it was on a wall.
No, it's on a. So that's my stipulation for them, because we talked about this. I was like, I'm just getting back into painting. I was like, I haven't done much of it.
You want to be in your environment, in your element.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I measured everything out, and I measured the largest section of the wall, and I was like, I can basically do this in my studio in pieces. So there's one like 9 foot by 4 canvas, and then another 9 foot by 4, and another 9 foot by 4.
Yeah.
So put them all together, it's 27 feet. You know. So I worked on them in sections and did it in my studio.
How long did it take?
I think I started working on it June, July. Probably started working on it like June, July-ish.
And you needed it done by August.
I got it done, but the deadline ended up being September 6th.
Okay.
And we hung it like September 1st or something like that.
Wow.
So July, I mean, that's not working every day. Like I said, I was going climb.
Yeah, but you're putting hours in on there.
Yeah, I was putting hours in. Oh yeah. That's something that I'm pretty good at it.
Now, I mean, you doing this mural, executing it obviously looks crazy. You know, they were happy with it, I'm sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, what's like your mindset after that? You're like, all right, let's grind and make some money with this, and like let's start trying to turn this into a job.
Yeah. Painting, just because I spent so many hours painting, and each portrait took so long, right? Like that's all hand painted. So each portrait was its own process. So during that time, I was getting so much more into painting again, right? That first portrait was a disaster, right? Like
how many different people's faces?
3, I think 8. I think 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I think it might be 9 because there's a middle. It's 8. There's not. I didn't want a middle human being, so no odd numbers. So it was 8.
Okay.
And yeah, it's that first portrait of James. I started on like a random one, James Baldwin, and then like got him halfway, moved to another one, got her halfway, moved to another one, and by the time I like finished one, I was in the groove again.
Yeah,
immerse
yourself.
It was like I'm back. You know, like I felt like I knew what I was doing with a paintbrush again. I was comfortable.
Wow.
So by the time I was done with it, and I was really kind of in the groove, I was like, let's just make more paintings.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to not have many paintings left from that time period before Edinburgh. I've been fortunate enough to sell most of them.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just make paintings.
What's your process of it? Like how do you work? You know, do you work with music playing? Do you smoke weed beforehand? You know, like how does that happen for you?
Well, I'm at the point now where I don't really smoke weed ever anymore.
Yeah.
I would like to, but I just can't. It fucks my head up.
Yeah.
Never used to, that's for sure. It used to be amazing, but I smoke now and I get all outside of my head and I get kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So no more weed anymore, but I always music. I mean, if not a podcast. I listen to a lot of like informational podcasts and mostly comedy podcasts. I really like comedy podcasts.
Like what?
Your Mom's House.
Okay, yeah.
I love Your Mom's House.
Oh yeah, I saw you listening to that while you were doing I think that map.
Yeah.
That map mural. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's I'm a big fan of comedy.
Yeah.
So I like when people say things that might make people uncomfortable because of the world we live in now.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to be like, you know, I work in solitude, you know, I got to, you know, do all that.
Well, I do work in, the only person I've ever been able to work around is jazz. That's the only, like, I've tried to have people in the studio. Obviously, you know, I can work with my girlfriend in there.
Yeah.
I can work with my ex-girlfriend.
How'd you link up with him?
Oh man, jazz, right? I think I was a year into painting at CCAC, and we had known each other from high school, but we weren't really friends. We just acquaintances.
Yeah.
And I knew he was always down at Time Bomb. I like knew of that place. I just wasn't in the scene. I just like video games, like I said.
Yeah.
And one day he just hit me up on Instagram and was just like, yo, dude, I see you are making paintings now. Like, can I come paint? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It was just that random and that simple. And he came over the one day and we were like just dipping Home Depot paint sticks into a bucket of paint and just drizzling them on a piece of plywood. And I just had him do that all night. And we were just like smoking weed together and just painting. And
wow,
it just developed a connection between the two of us where I was a year in, he was just starting. And then, you know, we were making paintings together. He went out to LA and kind of, you know, we would always chop it up, ideas like, what does this shape look like? How does this shape interact with the other one? I would always talk art theory from him, basically from school that I was learning from Scott. And then Jazz never went to school. So I would just, in order for me to learn it, I would try to teach him. Right.
Yeah.
And then it kind of worked for him really well and worked for me really well. Cause he would leave, go to LA and come back with like 100 paintings.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit,
Animal.
dude. I just like, you went so hard into this.
Yeah.
And not only that, like we both laugh at how bad his paintings used to be at the beginning. Like it's so funny.
Oh yeah, he showed me it.
He would take like CDs and like dip them in paint and like put 5 CD markings on a canvas and be like, I'm done. And I'm like, that is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, and he would go, yeah, dude, I know. And I'm
For
like,
anyone that's listening who, whenever we're saying Jazz, his name is Stephen Jaskulski. I interviewed him probably 10 weeks back. Go back and listen to that if you're interested.
Yeah.
But he got a wild story.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is funny to see like the progression because
his progression's phenomenal.
yeah,
man.
it's pretty wild because, and that's what really wanted me to talk to him because like I saw the shit that he was doing and what it looked like a year or two into it. And it just seemed like, his brain, something clicked.
Yeah.
And it's wild to like kind of hear every artist's trajectory, like yours, I was going to be a ceramicist and now I'm just a painter and
right.
It's crazy to hear that. But so you being like you kind of instructing someone new is almost, going over the values that you're learning. Like you're immersing yourself in all this.
Exactly.
So in turn, it's making you better.
Yep.
You're getting deeper into it from a different aspect.
Yeah. I'm watching him listen to me.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know anything at the time either, but I'm watching him hear what I say and do it. And I'd learn something from that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd be like, wow, that's cool. Like, let's try this. Let's get another canvas out and try that. So like in that studio and my mom, like I'm still in that studio today.
Yeah.
Like I just can't get away from it. I tried to, but I just can't get away. And, it would just like, we would just bust out painting after painting after painting. We pulled up on Penn Avenue one day for a First Friday art gallery, just like out of nowhere, and just pulled up a wheelbarrow full of paintings and like a mat. It just sold like a ton of them.
Wow.
It wasn't because we're like the shit. It was because like we didn't know any. We were just like doing stuff, we didn't care. We were just like, oh, I don't need a gallery to hang these. Like we were just like, let's just put this in the back of your car, take 40 paintings down in a wheelbarrow, and just give them to people. We sold them for $30 a piece and stuff. Like we didn't care. It was like we were so like spiritual and like meaningful together. Like everything was like very powerful between us. We always joked like when we get together, like earthquakes happen because like just weird shit would always happen. Like I went out to his house in LA like 2 years ago to try and just like connect. I was on a road trip, but I just tried to connect with him and paint with him again. And we're outside painting and fucking car flips over and just like this guy like slides his bike down, runs off of it, punches through the front window, pulls this person out because the car's flipped over. It's just like crazy shit. It's just crazy shit happens every time me and him get together.
Yeah.
And we're every time like that's like just one of the stories. Like we come together and something happens around us where it's like that's why we always say we don't want to hang out together all the time.
Causing chaos.
It's just too much. Like
too much energy.
We're so like, we're both, when we're in the studio, we're both so high energy. We can just talk about nothing for 12 hours straight. Like, and just like be 5 feet off the ground in that conversation, just flowing,
That's dope though.
Yeah. It's a lot, it's like you need to come back down to get like,
for sure,
to get reacquainted and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm so grateful for that whole experience with him starting out. He's like my mirror, like
for sure.
And I would feel
counterpoint.
Yeah. He's like someone I can look at and be like, how are you doing? And then how am I doing? And then how are you,
It's weird because, you can't always, everyone can't always really understand what you're thinking about unless they're kind of in that same world as you.
Yeah, that's very true.
And people can't relate to you about it. I just interviewed another podcast from Monroeville, a mother and daughter podcast, and just like talking to them, it's called Uncle Bob's Magic Cabinet, but
Nice.
I realized that like it's easier to relate to someone who kind of understands where your mind is at.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's refreshing to be able to have that sort of outlet.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're the only one doing something,
Yeah.
it can feel lonely.
For sure.
Which I imagine, like, if you didn't never know anybody, you're like, obviously you can see people on the internet.
Yeah.
But like somebody
that you like want to, because I'm very much a introvert, and like this is me talking to people is like a way for me to have that experience.
Right.
But I'm very much like I'm in my house, like keeping to myself. I want to be by myself, kind of. But it's weird because everyone's like, yeah, you're great. You talk to people, but it's like this is like my only real outlet of that.
Well, that's great. I think it's a great outlet. You're a good interviewer, man.
I appreciate that.
You're just a good conversationist.
I appreciate that. But it's like you. It's like you start and you're trash, and then like you just want to get better at it. Like this is like really like something that I like live and breathe this to like try to pull things out of people. I want to learn from people more than anything,
right?
Because it's just like that concentrated dose of like genius,
right?
With everyone I talk to, it's like
they all have a little bit,
100%
in whatever niche or perspective they have. Yeah, I became addicted to finding that from people too. That's when I was like in high school, and they'd be like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Everything," just because I was like, the only thing I liked was people.
Yeah,
so I relate to that a lot. Where it's like just talking to somebody and getting that little whatever makes them them.
100%. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
And seeing that, and you're like, wow, that's special. You can't touch it.
You recognize that from people.
Yeah.
It is. It's addicting to know. But what happens after you do that mural and like you kind of, progress as I career artist? Would you call it a professional artist? Like how?
I guess the technical term for that would be that I just kind of look at it as like I'm an artist, and it is my career kind of. And that's kind of, I went full steam ahead into that. I'm just going to paint portraits. I'm going to paint landscapes. I'm going to paint surreal things, and I'm just going to try and sell them. And that got a little sticky. So what I realized in the past, so that's like the past 2 years now.
Yeah.
And so about, honestly, past 3 years. And what I learned after the mural, so I finished the mural in September, painting. By that January, I was basically saying, I am going to make art my only source of income. I'm just going to go full steam ahead. I'm going to do things I've never done, like make prints. I'm going to do as many commissions as I can take. Dog portraits, flowers, whatever you want. Doesn't matter. I just want to be painting. I want to be making art. I want to make money from it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get a job. That's how I want to support myself. What I learned from that is that I don't make the same work when I try to do that. It's my work. People still have gravitated towards it. I think that the quality is still there.
But there's constraints.
Yeah, it's like almost like for me personally, it's like a spiritual constraint. It's like if I'm making work with an idea to sell it, I think the work is imbued with a different kind of energy versus if I like all the work that I'm making now for the show coming up is just things I love and want to paint.
Yeah.
So I think it just has a stronger energy, and in turn, I think it sells better.
Yeah.
I think like since people feel that, and since people can like, it's almost like people can smell it without knowing what they're smelling. Like when you try to sell somebody something.
Yeah, the authenticity kind of, there's not as much.
Yeah, like
it's not full.
Right, and that whole
half authenticity, half like I want to try to get some money for this, so I'm going to make it a certain way to be appealing to people.
Right,
which in turn kind of like kind of takes away that like you said that aura around it.
Yeah, there's a little something there, like. It's like I'm still making the same. I thought I was still making the same work. All the colors are the same. The subject matter is not changing too much. Like it's my work.
Yeah.
but there's just something that I don't feel as good about. And I always just like believe in people that they can sense that,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe because I think that maybe they do, maybe it's like a self-fulfilling thing where it's like something like that. I don't know. It's not like I'm trying to sell it, but it's like, look, now I have my website. These are all listed. I have this painting. I want this to go for this price. And it's just like harder to do it when you're trying versus before I was never trying to sell shit. And
Money muddies the water.
it would just, yeah, man.
It does.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Muddies the water. And it's like when I don't focus on it, that muddied water can settle and then I can see clearly right through that water.
Yep.
And it's like, it's like a stronger connection, you know, to that other side.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I was at for like the last, well, I'd say most of last year and a half ago, I was just trying to do that. And it was fine. Like don't get me wrong, I did fine.
Yeah.
I had so many people support me. I had so many people commission me, and I'm so grateful for all that. But it wasn't like, I still am going to do that. I'm never going to stop. But like, as far as, making it my number one source of income until I can make just a piece that I want to make and it sells for X amount of dollars, and then I'm supporting myself for a year, 2 years.
For sure.
That's until I do that, I'll just do something else I like in the meantime, which is a compromise of just getting older. So now I'm just like painting interior houses and stuff. So I'm still painting, but I'll just paint interior walls, do some trim, do some doors and stuff like that. Just do a little bit of drywall, construction work, wallpaper, just shit, work with my hands. It's the same shit I used to do when I was a teenager. But that allows me, I have less time, obviously, but that allows me to make the work that I want to be making without that sacrifice, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I still take on that commission for an extra couple bucks that month or whatever. But also, I didn't even mention murals. Murals are also a huge thing too, just to try to like get a source of income, and just depends on who wants them, who needs them, who has a budget, you know?
Yeah,
I'd love to be rich and paint murals for free. That'd be awesome if I had the inventory, but I would really like to do that. But, you know,
Got to be realistic.
yeah, gotta be realistic,
Especially in today's world.
especially for those material prices,
It's
man.
crazy.
Yeah.
Groceries in general, not even
Yeah.
material prices.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a wish, you know. If I was Jeff Bezos or something, I'd just be throwing up murals everywhere just because I wanted to, just offering, you know. But you don't have that luxury. You don't do it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. So, I mean, your experience with, you know, trying to find that happy medium between both of those, where you're paying your bills and then you're having full freedom with what you're doing.
Right.
You know, like that kind of is like a organic progression. And you said this is just like in the last year that you're trying to like get to, you know, you're still kind of green at this, would you say?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
Even in the last year of just trying to do it full on, I've just made so many mistakes, just like budgeting wrong, or like this will take a week. And I'm like,
I saw with that map mural, you were like, you know, I budgeted wrong.
they got mad I said that.
I mean,
yeah.
but
I didn't mean it in a negative. Yeah. What you're referencing is I basically just posted, I priced them at like $20K. I like priced them at a high number.
Yeah.
And cause I was like, I never did anything this big. This is so much bigger than I could have ever
How big was
imagined.
that wall?
35 feet by 18. They told me it was 25 feet by 15.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't measure it. I was like, fucking measure every wall.
Yeah.
From now on, you know, I have like a book where I write down every single thing I've made a mistake at. So I priced them at that certain price. I ended up coming down like 80% from the original estimate. So it's like, you know, getting paid.
How many hours did that take you? A lot of time, because it was very detailed, small, like
and it's an accurate map.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to paint an accurate map on that scale. I had an app that really helped me. It saved my life. It's not like I freehanded that. I had an app that was like projecting the map onto the wall. But the problem with that is it's like mind numbing. You don't see anything on the wall that you're working on.
Yeah, it starts to blend.
Yeah, you can see yourself and the image and the wall on your phone. and then what's recording that is like an iPad setup or something. You have those devices connected.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the wall and there's nothing there, and I'm making a line.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I'm drawing. I have to watch the phone and draw the wall. So it's very confusing.
Yeah.
So that headache.
Was that the first time you ever did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I was fortunate to get that. I begged for that job. I mean, I wanted it.
Yeah, for sure.
And even if they were going to underpay me, I was like, I'm taking it anyway.
Yeah, because that experience is invaluable.
Experience, exposure, can't pay the bills with it, but it may work out to pay your bills in the future.
Yeah.
And so they kind of got a little mad that, I mean, I probably shouldn't have done it. Another thing you learn on the process.
You learn on it.
I was like, I posted it. I was like, never knew how mind numbing it would be to paint all the city lines in Pittsburgh. Hashtag underpaid. But I totally see how that's like a negative connotation on their company. But I guess, I didn't take it that way because it was my choice.
Yeah.
Like I said it was this much and they knew it. And then I took it for this much and they knew how much of a deal I gave them. And then also I still I wasn't complaining about it. That was the one thing I said and it was over. It wasn't like I was like, oh.
Yeah. You weren't harping on it. And it wasn't even like directed at that. It's just like more of like a choice you made in your career.
I was like, man, I underpaid myself.
Yeah.
I actually said oops on me in another hashtag. And I was like, that's just another lesson,
that's all it is.
Yes. I'm optimistic though. I'm very optimistic to a very huge fault. I think sometimes I wish I could be more realistic because I will tell somebody that something takes 4 days to do it. And realistically it takes 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's just for some dumb reason. I believe that in my head that I'm like, I get that done in 4 days. For sure. And it's like, no, it won't. So when I accepted that price, I was like, oh, this will be fine. It's good. And then you get in the reality of it. You're halfway through it and you're like, whoa, this is a lot of work. This is what I want. I want to be doing this work, but
putting in a lot of time.
The more I do it, I'm like, man, this takes longer than you think. That you just don't account for little things.
Yeah.
When your materials run out or just small mess ups, I don't know, just little details.
Little things that you don't account for.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And that's but I get, I don't know, it sucks in that time, but like we said, it's that's another way of paying tuition. It's like you're going, that's
Great point.
School of life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
the best school ever. Huh?
I've been doing this shit, dude. My timer on my software to edit, I think it just rolled over 1,500 hours.
Oh, wow.
And that's just me editing. That's not me trying to schedule with people. That's not me interviewing people. Damn. That's not me doing all that. That's just random me editing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just, it sucks. I'm to the point now where I'm like, I need to figure out a way to get paid for this to where it's, because like we said, it muddies the water. So it's a delicate dance because I want this to still be what it is. And personally, I fucking hate listening to ads on podcasts. I skip through them. I'm the first person to say it.
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know if you're listening to ads, I'm like, what is wrong with you?
It's wild, but that's where I am stubborn, in the way where if I'm going to get paid for this, I want it to be the right situation to where it doesn't feel gross. It doesn't feel like
genuine.
I want it to be genuine and I want it to be authentic. I don't want to be promoting some fucking Window Nation. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck about Windows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel you so hard.
I got to die on that hill.
Right.
As me, in my soul, I just feel that I got to die on that hill because I know that I hate that type of ad. So I'm like, no one's going to listen to it anyway. So I just I can't tarnish my artwork.
Right, dude. I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day. We were in my studio and we talked about how you have the same goals as I have. My number one goal over everything is the art is personal. The work is personal. I'm doing it because I love it. I'm doing it because if I make something that somebody else is into, that's a plus. That's great. Once I'm done making it, it's for you.
Yep.
It's not for me now. Now that I'm done with that canvas or done with that sculpture, it's now for you.
Yeah.
But the inspiration behind it is personal. The reason I'm doing it is personal. How I feel during it. If I'm crying, if I'm happy, if I'm angry, it's personal. It's 100%. For me, right? And then the second goal is maybe let's make a little money.
Yeah.
Because I need to live. you got stomachs, you got bills, you know, you gotta eat and you gotta live in the world. You can't just go by making the money.
My mindset always was, you know, like if people don't like it, then it ain't for you.
Exactly.
Like keep it moving.
So true. Yeah, that's
you know
so
what I mean?
true.
And
there's enough things out there that if you can find something for you.
Yeah. And my whole thing is like, I'm always going to stay true to myself because, you know, it doesn't feel like an extra layer of weight where you're like, you know, being, you know, you're not being authentic to yourself. So my thing is like, I'm going to just be real. I'm going to be me. I'm not lying about shit on here.
Yeah.
I'm just very transparent. And if people like it, I love it. Cause those are the people that are going to be real. You know, I'm not buying fake ass shit. I'm not trying to cultivate some sort of like fake following with it.
Sure, man.
I'm playing the long game always.
Right.
But
playing that long game,
you play that long game because you know, you make it through.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's why I'm okay. I'm doing the same thing. I respect you 100% for saying that because I feel the same way. I'm playing the long game, and I want to peak when I'm like 65. You know, like I don't want to peak. Like I want to fuck up. I'm happy that I'm fucking up now.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I'm making the mistakes and I'm maybe networking wrong or maybe marketing wrong or maybe pricing people wrong or I'm saying the wrong thing sometimes. I'm happy that I'm doing that now because I'm 28 years old.
Yeah.
Like that's okay. Like I'm also learning to like love myself in that way where it's like, dude, you're fine. Like you have a goal, you have a passion, you've seen it can be somewhat lucrative.
Yeah.
And you haven't figured out how to do it yet. And that's good.
School life, baby.
Yeah, it's like Jazz told me something where he goes, "Your artists are considered young artists at the age of 35. You're considered a young artist." I'm like, man, like that's fantastic. I'm like, you're 35 in the NFL, you're done.
Yeah,
you know,
you're
or
done.
something like that. Like it's like I'm in a good career path for myself because I agree with you. Long game is what I'm trying to play. You know, like I'm not in it.
Not a flash in a
I'm
pan.
not a flash. Like I would be doing this if nobody knew I was doing it. I would be doing it if I didn't make a dime from it. I was doing it when I didn't make a dime from it. You know, like I just did
2
it 'cause
years.
I was in pain, man, and I found art and it fucking saved my life.
2 years of doing this podcast with no listens in the beginning. You know,
Really?
I made it out the mud.
Wow, man.
Like
Dude, that's consistency that a lot of people don't have.
My
That's
mindset
great.
in the beginning was that like I know that I got to do this. I got to take my cuts. I got to earn my stripes.
Yeah.
I got to crawl out of the mud.
Yeah.
And once I do this, there ain't no one that's going to be telling me shit about it because I'm just sharpening my
It's
sword.
just what you do now.
Honestly, dude, like I feel like, you know, it was so easy to let things like dissolve because like it's easy to let things go whenever you don't have a support system behind you. You're like, I'm doing all this work and there's no one to listen to it. You know what I mean? There's no one to get anything out of it. And I'm just like, you know, if I make it through this, it's just going to be worth so much more because, you know, if I would have started this a year later, I would have begged to start it a year before, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you've had those experiences in it that are bad, you're valuing more now what it means because you're where you are now.
100%. Same thing with you. It's like that you're gonna think about that mural for the rest of your life and be like, I'm gonna definitely measure that wall.
Right.
I know how this is gonna be now.
Yep.
And then you're able to like really come to terms with your value as you know, monetarily and spiritually.
Right.
And and that's what's beautiful about it all. In that, like, you know, that's a silver lining out of all the shit that you wade through.
Yeah.
And that's also why, like, I don't invite people on here that I don't want to talk to because, as you see, I have no notebook, dude.
Yeah.
This is all really me being like
Right.
this like sparks my soul. Like whenever I talk to people.
Yeah. What I realize is I hear you because what I realize is you started recording. I didn't even know you started recording.
Yeah.
Which the way I took that is you don't want any of it to be scripted. It's just, you'd rather just talk to somebody. Like it's the first time meeting you, right?
Yeah.
And you are just going, hey, what's going on? Let's have a conversation. I'm going to ask you a few questions, obviously, as anybody would.
Yeah.
But all of it's like organic and it's obviously from your soul. And that's, I relate so heavily to that because it's like, you can't fake the shit, you know, because some people can, they're good at it, but that's not for me.
If you have this show, it takes away, you know, I don't want it to be like a show where you're like, yo, dude, you got this art. this art show coming up, and like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do like the 4-minute Ellen DeGeneres pitch where you come and talk about what you want to do. I really want to know what the fuck you're about,
know who I am,
and why you're like where you are. And I feel like I do a great job pulling it out of people,
For sure.
And I feel like that's just as rewarding to me as it is for you, because it's like, people will leave here and be like, for instance, like Christian, the guy who owns Oak Hill Post, one of my favorite restaurants ever. This dude messaged me the one day, and he was like, honestly, dude, like this is a crazy thing to say and for me to hear. He said, coming on your show and talking about my life was a highlight of my career.
Wow.
And like that shit almost made me tear up, like whenever I see it, because it's like that lets me know that like, that whenever people are coming on here, it's not like there's no like bullshit. It's just, this is authenticity.
Just having a real conversation,
to a T.
man. And you're probably allowing him to backtrack on his career.
Dude, people
his
that
life.
things that you don't think of,
Right.
For years that you're unpacking.
I've
in
already
your
said a
mind.
few things in this podcast for sure. Yeah.
1,000,000%.
I didn't even realize how instrumental Bowser was to my life or something like that, like
dude, if that would have never happened, you would have never,
I know it.
that's the thing. And that's what's so wild about like everyone's lives. And that's why I have such like a diverse group of, guests that I've had on here. It don't matter what it is. If I'm interested in it, it really is like, it's just interesting to me, and it makes me want to do it. It pulls out that natural curiosity.
Yeah.
But I don't know, dude. It's always fascinating to hear an artist's trajectory, because like they're so like, it's so random.
Very
Jazz
random,
comes on here. It's like, I had no fucking idea what that dude went through. It's like, you come on here, no idea the shit that you went through. It's like, and there's something, really, it's cathartic to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, I appreciate it and respect you for doing that. That's why I was interested in your podcast. I was happy that you invited me, because you're I said interview, but like conversationalist, like how you're saying. So
I appreciate that.
I was psyched. I was like, hell yeah, because like I said, I listened to more than a few of them, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Like,
I appreciate
let's do
that,
it, man. Yeah, because I just know the style, and that's kind of like I said, I mirror the same style. It's just like living for that conversation,
for sure,
connecting to people.
Now, for you to be work like this art show you're coming up with, okay?
Yep.
Where's your mindset to want to do this art show?
Yeah. Well, that's a whole box of worms. My mindset, first and foremost, is I want to make work I love. I mean, I would be making work if I didn't have an art show right now or not.
Yeah.
But I wrote down in my notebook in like November.
Do you write down? Are you like a?
I have a sketchbook. I have a sketchbook that it's not necessarily for art. It's just like I keep it with me all the time.
Yeah, you pour your mind into it.
Yeah, like if I want to write something, if I want to draw something, if I want to scribble, like it does, anything just goes in there. If me and my girl are sitting at the dinner table, I'll pull it out and just we'll do some random drawing. It's just like a way to pass the time, way to put my thoughts into. I used to write a ton, just feelings and ideas. Now it's mostly like logistical writing.
Yeah.
Like
things you got to remember, checklists, things like that. Yeah.
Like this size of canvas, grab white paint.
For sure.
Just like things like that. Call Jazz, something random,
Yeah.
But now with my mindset for the show, I wrote down in my notebook in November that I wanted to have, it was like November 1st. I wanted to have a show on April 14th. For some reason, I was sitting in my studio and I was like, well, I want to make I kind of had a show last year, kind of. Now, with all due respect to that gallery, they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I think that they kind of used my work to make their room look nice, and that was it. I mean, any artist that goes into a gallery and is asked to hang all the work themselves in a building alone without the gallerist, and also the gallerist doesn't show up on either of the nights that the openings are there.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing, but I don't want to come back here ever again.
Yeah.
It was, they came with good intentions to display my work and hang it and stuff. And it was like, what is it? It was like April last year. And they were like, want to have a show in May? And I was like, sure. Never saw the space. It was 2 hours away up in Erie. And I was like, okay, whatever, sure. They were like, we really want your work.
And do you just have like a crazy, stack of paintings of
No,
just-
I'm not
okay.
that. You know what's funny is I'm not the type of artist that is like Jazz.
Okay, yeah.
I don't have the inventory.
That's
of
what I'm
40.
associating with, where I look at a photo he posts and there's 50 fucking
That is,
canvases.
I want to be that so much sometimes, but it's just not me.
Yeah.
Like,
And
for
that
a
makes
For a
sense.
show, I'll stack up 13 or 14.
Yeah, but I'm more talking about like I also ask that in the way to kind of see into your process. So are you like, I have a project, I'm going to start it and finish it and then do
Kinda.
another one?
Kind of. I started out that way. Like I was like, one painting would take me 2 months, and I
Yeah.
get one painting done in 2 months.
Yeah.
But now, fast forward 8 years later, the same painting that would take me 2 months would take me like a week and a half.
Yeah.
The one that I'm working on that is used for the advertisement for the show, the one on the top of the top photo of the text, that one's taking me like 9 months.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just because I'm like really dialing it in. I'm like taking it to the level that I never tried to take a painting before.
What kind of style would you say? Like, what kind of artist would you say you were to someone that's listening?
Well, I don't have, I guess I like painting. I would say it's funny. What kind of style would you call I like painting portraits.
Yeah.
It's like not a style,
Yeah.
portraiture, I guess. But also I'm mostly interested in color.
Yeah.
And how to use color to not be like super pop art. Like there's artists throughout the city that use color in this very elementary way and make it kind of look collegiate.
Yeah.
You know, like they make it look professional.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in that at all. Like I'm interested in taking color and kind of using like the theory of the color wheel and doing, right, so red and green are opposite colors and blue and orange are opposite colors and purple and yellow. And now it's basically like a math equation, but with colors. If you kind of go for purple and yellow and then there's blue and red on the side of purple, you can kind of shift from shades and then basically like those opposite colors, they go together. Well, that's why Christmas is red and green. That's why the Lakers are purple and yellow, because those opposite colors, they look nice together. That's why blue and orange always look good together and things like that.
Wow.
That's just like a simple color theory. So,
Yeah.
and what your eyes do when they do that, if you put blue and orange together everywhere in little dots all over a canvas and back up 10 feet from it, it looks brown. Because when you mix the blue and orange, when you mix blue and orange, purple and yellow, red and green, the opposite colors, they just make like a neutral color. So now you can mess with it. That's why a lot of times, like, what if people have told, this is not what I'm trying to do, but what people have told me from when they look at certain portraits of mine, it's like you use all the colors. They're so saturated. There's reds, blues, pinks, yellows, greens. There's no browns. There's no skin tones. But when they back up from it, it reads as a skin tone.
Yeah.
And that's my main goal when I'm painting people. Now, obviously for the portrait that's on the flyer for the show, I'm trying to actually paint a skin tone.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to get a different effect. Kind
Yeah.
of move into like a newer phase of a type of art. Just kind of graduate a little bit on my own.
But
my own
like
curriculum.
you're talking about almost like that mural you did at like Clarendon. It's like those are all different colors that
Yeah.
you step back and you see it.
You see them as people.
Yeah.
Like it subtly touches on hints of like racism.
Yeah.
Which it's not my intention, but I've had people tell me this before. Like I'll paint a white person with the same color palette as I paint a black person, right? I'm not painting brown and I'm not painting pinks, right? I'm blues, reds, yellows, greens, purples.
You're painting
everything.
a human being.
Painting a human being with, in all of our skin, like in your skin right now, I can see blues near your eye. I can see yellow up by your ears. I could see whites, and then I see purple in your forehead. Like then there's a solid red on your, like there's colors all over your face. And
Yeah.
I'm heightening all of that. And then like the halfway stages through my work are like so saturated and so muddy and like so crazy. And then as it becomes a finished work, I basically just pull away from emphasizing that saturation so much, and I try to break it down into bits. So if I see like red or yellow on your face, right, I just basically go to the tone of it. Where does it fall on the black and white grayscale? And then I match it, right? So if it's a red color, I'll match that to a dark red or a light red on a grayscale. And then I'll put, because of that color, I'll put a teal, like what I was saying, like an offshoot of green, or I'll do an offshoot of like a blue.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of place those around the red. and your eye doesn't know your eye doesn't know what's going on. You just read colors.
Yeah. So like whenever you're looking at it, it does like a automatic sort of like blend of what it needs to do.
It's actually called optical mixing. That's what it's called. So like there's artists where like they'll color with like red pens, a whole face. They'll color with a green pen. They'll color with a yellow pen and do the same thing with all of them, like scribbles. And you step back and your eyes read it as this certain thing. So it's like I'm optically mixing color together. Now, that's not always my intention. It's just, I'd say like the main one. I like art because I can do whatever I want. Sometimes I change it up. Sometimes I go with a whole blue palette and just like tones and different shades and tints of blues. Or just like I want to do something surrealist or something like that, or like a landscape. But I try to incorporate that theory of like everyone would say color is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to find like the unique and cool beauty in color that our brain analyzes. Like I think it's beautiful that our brain does that optical mixing thing. So I like chasing that.
Yeah.
Not like I like pretty pinks, it's like I'm chasing like how, like when I step back from it, what I'm getting from it is like I have like a hard time seeing it because it fucks with my vision, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting somewhere. When I feel, it's like I'm trying to observe in my own head when my brain feels that.
Yeah.
And then I like that. I think that feeling's beautiful. So I try to go and then, push that in other areas.
Run after that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which areas in a two-dimensional surface can I pull forward to your face, and which areas can I push back? And you don't even know that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's like jazz. Jazz is the same thing. It's like you manipulate color so that when people look at it, they don't know they're being manipulated, but they're reading this as like a beautiful piece and they have no idea why. And there's all these weird little rules that you're breaking and following and breaking and following and breaking and following.
Yeah. Like your artwork is almost like how a dog brings in smell. It's like, it's all singular pieces of things. Whereas like that's a crude representation, but it's like a human being, has smell. You only smell one smell, if I'm smelling a stew on the stove,
That's a great analogy.
a dog will smell a carrot, a potato, I don't know. That's a crude representation.
Distinct identifiers.
And I think that that's what makes you the artist and me the viewer. You know what I mean? It's like your eye is obviously going to see different.
It just clicked. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at everything individually, piece by piece.
Yeah.
And when you get it, you just get the whole image.
100%.
And that's what I was saying earlier. Like when I make work, it's all for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I make work like when so let's say like that mural or the commissions, like those are for other people. I want them to look pretty for other people. I want to give them quality work with some of my qualities that I'm natural at and I'm good at.
Yeah.
But like the work that I call my work, that's like my body of work, something that I'm going to put in the show. Like that's so all that work is selfish.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I do what I want. I try to get other people's eyes on it and see what they think and adjust. Like I'm open to those adjustments, but like the reasons that I'm making it and what I'm finding and how I'm following through with how the piece like eventually makes it to the finished piece, it's like all personal. It's like I like those carrots and those peas. Like, I want these specific. Maybe I want some moldy peas or something. I'm gonna put those in there too. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. Like, but you're gonna get the whole thing.
And that's your hope, is that you want to attract the people.
Yeah.
Definitely. That look at it that way.
Yeah, I've never actually thought of that, but you're exactly right. My hope is that's something I'm learning now that I'm talking to you, just as I'm speaking now, is like that's a good point. My hope is I want to make people feel that. I want to make people get a feeling that they kind of can't forget.
Yeah.
Like I want them to see something that makes them stop, and be like, what is
like that ape picture.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, like the ape with the Jesus one. Yeah, and that is a controversial piece, man.
But it's weird because it's like
people don't like that.
I mean, whatever.
No. I mean, I made it.
I get it. But it's like it's interesting for me, and the reason that I like ask these like in the weeds questions is because like I try to get a glimpse into your mind of like how your process works, because I know that myself. I'm one of them people where I look at the picture and I see the full thing. I'm not seeing the pieces and the techniques and like the little intricacies. And that might be not exactly what you're hoping for. You might hope for something deeper than that. But in reality of it all, that's how some people consume it. And it's interesting to hear how you conceptualize what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I do accept that some people will see it that way. That's fun to me. You know, I wrote a poem a long time ago on the back of one of my canvases that's going to be in the show that came back around and somehow resurrected and made its way to I like gessoed over, and it's going to be a new canvas in the show. But the poem was like, said something about, I make what I make for me, and once I'm done, now it's for you, and how you see it is now how I win. It's now how I find fulfillment. Like, if you see it as a whole, right? If you see it as, if you don't see those pieces, I'm in love with that, because I like how you don't see it the way I do. Yeah. Right. Like, cause if you saw it the way I do, you'd be like, oh, I know how you did that.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, it's like, but the fact that you don't see it how I do it,
there's beauty to that.
Yeah. And exactly. And I like hearing, I like almost live, I make paintings almost because I want to hear people. I want to put something out there and then hear how somebody reacts to it. And then I like,
it's a new way that
I'm like a junkie for that. I'm like, even if you say I hate it, I think this is horrible, I think that this is bad for this reason, I'm like fascinated by that. I don't take offense to that. I get like excited. I'm like,
because it's another way that's being thought about.
I'm like, wow, you don't like that? Like, why? Tell me why.
Yeah.
You know, like, for instance, my girlfriend hates the Jesus painting. I mean, she thinks like technically it's cool, but she's like, whatever, you do something better, you know? And I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, I don't even get mad, because I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, you're right.
Don't care what you feel. I just want you to feel.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, and by you doing that, it's going to push me forward. Maybe I will make something better. Maybe I'll make something dumber. You know, whatever comes out of it, it's like, it's worth it. You know, I'm like, thank you for your perspective. You know, like, initially I might be like, you don't know what you're talking about. That painting's sweet, you know?
Yeah.
But like, give me a day and I'm like, no. There's value in what she said, and there's value in what they said, and things like that.
I love that.
That's funny. It's funny you brought that piece up, because that piece was like just like a technical study. Like, I had to make a piece for that show I was talking about last year. I had to fill space.
Yeah.
And I made that piece in 3 days. It's like the quickest piece I've ever made. And I just like didn't care what people thought. I got into this space where I was like, like you were asking about my process. Typically, I will pick subjects out. I'll alter them in Photoshop. I will create a scene. I'll change lighting. I'll do all kinds of customizations to reference photos.
Yeah.
And then I'll project them onto a canvas with like kind of a sketch or an outline. And then I go to town making it how I want to and bringing it to life. Textures, colors, patterns, whatever, just making it my own. That's different for like surrealist pieces and narrative pieces and stuff. But for that painting kind of happened where I stained a canvas, just like the color of like a brown table. And I just took a crayon and like a little pastel crayon in my studio and just started scribbling everywhere.
Yeah.
Cause like I got to make something. I don't have time to do all the Photoshop work and prep a piece, you know, like come up with an idea and things like that. And I just kind of scribbled everywhere, and I stepped back.
And that's what you saw.
I was like, I see a big ass cross, and I didn't mean to make that. And it looks like there's some feet down there, and let's just run with that. That's all I have. And then I took a projector and put a ape's head up there and painted it 15 minutes. Took 2 hands over there, painted it in 15 minutes. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, now I'm playing with fire, right? So now I put a big Renaissance halo around the ape's head, and I drew in the cross heavy with brown paint, like thick brown paint. And I'm like, what am I doing? It's almost like it like made itself, and I was just it was like puzzle pieces, and I just put them together.
Yeah.
And why some people don't like it is because they go, well, it's just crude. Like you don't have a real message for that piece. And I'm like, so what?
Yeah.
Like, I get what people are saying. I get that if I'm going to put these images together, an ape's head on a crucifix with hands and doves and patterns and feet and stuff, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I obviously know that this is going to move people. I obviously know it's going to push them in one direction or the other, but it's not like I'm doing it with like a definitive message. Everyone, like a couple people that saw it were like, well, what are you trying to say? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's a shitty answer, but like, I just put a bunch of, it's like selfish. I like placing these things out on the table and then standing in the corner at a party and watching how those people interact with those pieces. I just like that. It's like, it might be a little fucked up, but like, cause it's like, but that's just what that in that piece, that's just what happened.
Don't care what you feel. I just want you to feel.
Yeah, exactly. You keep coming back to that. That's on point right there. Yeah. And it was technical for me. That piece was like practice. It's like a page out of my sketchbook that I would never have taken to a painting. And it just happened to be a finished piece. And now it's like, man, some people really don't like that piece.
Well,
other people love it though, you know?
I mean, I like all the controversial shit.
Yeah.
So Love Letters, your idea to do this art show, you know, where does this come from though? You know, do you get approached to do this, or do you reach out to do this?
Well, it kind of happened like a beautiful experience. We got way off topic. I was initially saying my sketchbook.
Yeah.
I wrote in November. I was like
April 14th.
April 14th. I don't know why. I like, those are the numbers that I like. 41423. That sounds cool. I was like, that just hit for me right. And then didn't really think about it. The piece that I was talking about, that real dark piece with the portrait on top of the flyer, that piece, like I started last year, like July. And that piece kind of was like a first mover in maybe thinking about a show. And in November is when I was like, all right, I'm going to do a show, and this is going to be like the staple piece, and all the pieces, that's going to be the first cause of the theme.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it started. And eventually I went to a show at Studio 4 in Bloomfield, where my show is going to be at. It was like a graffiti show. And I linked up with Cameron Schmidt and his buddy Noah that run the studio there. And they're pretty cool people. And Cameron was like, hey, if you ever like want a show in the future, let me know. And it was kind of just like by the wayside, you know, it was like whatever. And I went to another show that they had, and he was like, yo, like, you want to talk about that show? And I was like, yeah. And it just so happened we looked, and the date that was available, he got me in kind of early, like January-ish, to kind of look at dates, and the date that was available was April 14th. So I was like,
let's do it.
Yeah. And I got some shit too from people close to me. They were like, why do it so soon? Make better work. You have so much going on, and like with painting houses and doing some murals and commissions. And I'm like,
you got to put that deadline on it though.
Yeah. And push it. Like, I know I'm going to go through hell I got like 45 days.
Yeah. And
I got like not enough work made right now.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to go through hell just like
how many paintings do you think you'll need for this show? Like, this is your solo show?
All my work.
So how many paintings do you think will be there?
Well, it depends on size. I have 3 pretty large pieces.
What do you mean by large? How big?
So 45 by like 68 inches.
Okay.
So you're getting pretty wide landscape. Fits good on like a living room wall.
Yeah.
I got another one that's 52 inches square. Then I got another one like 45 by 70 or something.
So you got 3 pieces right now. 3 big pieces.
Yeah, like 2.5.
2.5.
Like 2.5.
2 and some change.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, you put a goal in your mind to. I feel like putting goals in your mind is a good kick in the ass.
Man,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you keep saying, yeah, I'll do a show, but I just need to get some paintings done, you know, it's easy to let that just prolong and say, like, I'll do it next month. We could do it next year.
Yep.
And it's easy to get that away. But if you put a fucking date on it, you're like, I got to get it going.
And you know what? That's how I felt. And I was like, I gotta do this now. I don't want to do this in September, because look, I just did this mural. I just did all these commissions. I'm knocking out this job. I'm knocking out this. I got another mural coming up at the end of April.
Yeah.
It's like, do it now. Like, now's where I'm like, if I want to, like, my end goal is I want to be in museums one day. Like, I want my work to be known by people, because I feel like I have something to give people. Like, I feel like if I sat down in the studio for the next 40 years, I feel like I'd be able to give the world a quality amount of product that would be worthy of something like that. And I want to prove that to people, but not only that, myself.
Yeah.
And that's a little part of this is the show. It's like, yeah, you have a lot going on.
Yeah. And plus what George said, you got to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, man. And I know it's about to come.
Put that date on there, and like, you know, you put that heat on you and you're ready to go. I planned a show too, and I'm nervous as shit for it.
Oh, really?
It's the end of the month with me and Odd Pittsburgh.
And the days keep creeping.
Dude, days keep creeping. And I'm like, I got shit going on. And it's like, I make myself sick over shit.
I know.
You know what I mean? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, it's like workaholic shit.
Yeah.
It's like stock. It's like,
yeah, like I'll be getting yelled at by my wife for working at like 10:30 at night, and she's like, yo, chill out. Like,
Same thing with my girl.
yeah, like last night I'm laying in bed and I'm like, I'll just I'll go into like a spiral over like
Just laying in bed thinking about shit.
shit. And I'm like, I ain't ready for this. And it's like, what could I do to be more prepared for this?
Yeah.
That's why like I'm going to bike to DC in the end of May. And it's like, I know I'm physically right now and mentally right now, I'm not ready for it, but I had to put a date on it because that's going to make me accountable.
Yeah, that deadline will be powerful for you.
Yeah, you got to be accountable. It puts a concrete date on there, and you're like, this, and it's almost like good and bad, because it's like I need something to keep myself dedicated, to keep myself accountable.
You're your own boss. If you don't show up for yourself, it's like you got nothing.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to die on that trip, so I'm like, let's get it.
It's like my boss said April 14th.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up, and that was me, so it's like.
So how, you wake up, like what's a day in your life like? You wake up and then you're just like in the studio?
No, well, not lately. So I've been working a lot in the studio, I will say, but typically I don't live where my studio is now, which is because I'm not living at my mom's house. I'm living with my girlfriend, and we have a place way over in like the north side, almost like they're like Etna and like Fox Chapel.
Yeah,
and my studio is all the way down in West Mifflin, so it's like a 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
So with all the shit that I have going on, sometimes I'm like, man, it's 4:00 p.m. and I want to make work tonight. I got to go through rush hour traffic, drive an hour, and then make it to the studio and hopefully not got tired. My motivation didn't get killed. It's like, then I get in the studio. If my motivation did get killed, it takes an hour to get working. It's like, sometimes it's a hard process for me because I've learned through that mural, that Claritin one, that if I just pick up the paintbrush and start putting the paint on the canvas, I'll start working. Yeah. Sometimes doing that's the hardest thing.
Do you get like a creative, or do you find yourself is sometimes going through like creative ruts?
No, I haven't experienced that yet.
Okay.
Because what I found is as long as I just do something, something happens.
If you're moving, it gets there.
If I am technically in one of those, I just do what I did with the monkey piece, where it's just like, just scribble and make something out of it.
Something
and then
comes out of it.
Yeah. I learned that from jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz is like, and a couple other like people I look up to. Like I'm big on like motivational people, just like listening to YouTube shit and like things that inspire me, and just like a lot of past artists reading their kind of like books and like their essays and stuff, just being like, they just said,
knowing that there's someone else out there that like kind of that went through the same shit that you went through.
Exactly. I think it was I can't remember what artist said it, but they were like, inspiration finds you while working, not being passive. Like if you're waiting for inspiration, it finds you while working. It's almost like
you got to push that ball down the hill.
Yeah, like luck is what's that saying? It's like luck is opportunity meets preparation or something like that. So like just do something and you'll find your way, So
that makes sense.
Yeah. But anyway, typical day. Yeah, I mean, it's about to start looking like I wake up, I eat breakfast, I can maybe go climbing for a couple hours because I need that physical exertion, and I'm in the studio till midnight. When it gets closer to the show, like maybe 2 weeks out, a week out, I'm there 24 hours a day. I'm just not going to leave.
So do you have like this show that you're doing, is there like, do you have ideas for these other pieces that you need to make, or are these like going to be, oh, you do?
I do. Yeah. This is the first time I'm taking something and doing a concept. Right. Like the show is called Love Letters because, well, number one, I'm doing all of this because I love it, and it's for me, right? Like I wanted to do this.
These are your letters that you're writing.
Exactly. And number two, it's called Love Letters because I think that, now I don't want to try to offend anybody in Pittsburgh, because I think Pittsburgh's a dope place and there's a lot of cool people here. But I just think that artists in Pittsburgh need to push themselves a little harder. There's a lot of people who are grinding so hard, and that doesn't mean that they're not pushing themselves. I just mean like push their work and dive in a little deeper. And we have a dope city. I've seen it. I've talked to people, but there's also a lot of areas where people are lazy and people don't pay homage to people who have come before them, right? Yeah. And that's kind of a little piece of what inspired this show. Is I'm making work based on the old Renaissance, and I'm bringing it to kind of my modern type of style. Yeah. I'm making work based on the old Surrealist era, and bringing it to my modern style. I'm taking work and doing the abstract expressionism, Andy Warhol's pop art, and bringing it to my rendered modern style. So I'm trying to, I just like am so inspired by, like, you look at something like the Sistine Chapel and you're just like, no one's doing that these days. You're just not, no one has that quality. And I want to do a small part in trying to challenge the community of artists to just push harder, you know? Like, in my opinion, there's a couple art cities, right? You have LA, you have New York, maybe Chicago. New Mexico's pretty cool, maybe New Orleans, but really, you think of it, it's New York and LA.
Yeah.
I think, and Jazz thinks so too, that Pittsburgh could be one of those places. It's just that, you know, you look at you just got to clean things up. You know, it's just like people who are really about it, stick with it. And people who are just doing this half-assed, do it half-assed, but like, we're about to go after it. You know, that's kind of how I feel. And it's like that love letter to kind of Pittsburgh and challenging people out of respect and just being like, this is what I can do. I want to see now what you can do. Like, put your heart and soul into this. Don't just get it out for money. Like, don't just get it out because it looks pretty and you think it'll sell. Like, I want to see what's inside of you. You know, like, what do you love? And what would you say to somebody who's asking you something from the past who used to do what you do, which is paint, or which is make art or make sculpture? Like,
well, it's interesting to hear that. I mean, maybe it's because I'm not an artist and I don't really have, I feel like I have a good thumb on the pulse of a lot of the people in the city that are doing art, whether it's shit that I like or it's shit that I don't.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that what you're saying is almost, it's difficult what you're saying because what you're saying is like, you know, you want people to push themselves more, but it's like, honestly, you know, you don't have the right to say that. And you don't have I mean, your shit is dope. And that's what I feel like is great about it. And it's very impressive, but it's like the stuff that you might think that people are not digging into their soul for, you can't take that away from them.
Right.
And there's a lot of people in there that, you know, I mean, if you think of like, this is what's always fascinated me and why I've always like gravitated towards graffiti is because like these people are out there like pouring their heart and soul into things and they don't want to know. They don't want people, they're not doing it for anything.
Right.
They're not doing it for shows. They're not doing it for anything. They're doing it for themselves. And I feel like whether it's me or you, granted, you have a different say because you are an artist. Yeah. It's like almost like what gives you the right to make that sort of assessment about other people's art?
Right. Yeah, I respect that point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a very valid point. And I obviously know that you're correct in saying that. What gives me the right?
But I see your end of it all where it's like, I want to do as good as I can because I want other people to see what I could do and almost like have that be a way for people to develop a different level of hunger.
Yeah, for sure. I know that I've looked at other people and been like, I got to step my shit up.
Yeah.
I want to do that for other people. And that's not trying to be like, I don't want it to sound, because I definitely know how that sounds. And that's why I was like, I know it's a touchy subject to talk about because like I initially said, I know so many dope artists in Pittsburgh. Like I could rattle them off.
Insurmountable.
Yeah. And I started out doing a little bit of graffiti, like when I first started painting, just because I was hanging with a bunch of hip hop kids and stuff. Like, so I understand that vibe of it. It's just that I want to be able to kind of be a catalyst for people who might, like, I know when I was lazy. I know when I've been lazy with my art, right?
Yeah.
And I know that if other people are, they know it too.
Yeah, for sure.
And I kind of like, I see the potential in the city as far as how it's structured and what buildings are where and what galleries are where and who has a stranglehold on this gallery and which gallery holds a monopoly over these people and stuff. And it's too exclusive. You can't get in. I want to make it more universal. I want to make it more of a community and I want to kind of
more accessible,
just way more accessible. And I want to like kind of just get in and almost allow people to see that you don't have to make any specific type of work. You can really like put your heart and soul into it, and that's going to be enough it's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I don't want people to make shit that looks like mine. I don't want people to like all do rendered stuff and try to be super deep about it.
Yeah.
I just want people to make sure that like they're putting their soul into it, right? Like, I just feel like I've seen some people in Pittsburgh that can almost catapult the community, you know, and not like anything specific, but it's just like it doesn't happen, you know, and it's like, what do we need to happen here? Like, I feel like it's like right there. Like, let's light the city on fire, kind of, you know, like I feel like it could be one of the dopest art cities in the country.
Yeah.
But it's like almost not taken seriously enough. Like, for instance, something that I'm talking about specifically is like, if you go down to some of the First Friday avenues, like, and there's dope gallerists down there. I've shown down there. Like, I know multiple artists right now that are showing down in some of the First Fridays, but there are some galleries where the gallery has the work up, and everyone's in the back just kegging.
Yeah.
And you're like,
it's not really there.
Is this a fucking art show or is this a party? Like,
yeah.
Like it's like, I want it to be about the art, you know, like that's what I kind of mean about like pushing, you know, like push it. Like if
more
it's
honor to it.
Yeah. Like treat it with respect
and honor.
Yeah. Like, and I get it. Like there's like the Pittsburgh art card, which is all graffiti based and stuff. Like, I'm not asking that stuff to change. That's the essence, right? They're like there's different buildings, like the Muldoon is showing down at the Pittsburgh art, or the International Children's Gallery. That fucking place is so dope. I don't ever want that to change. And I love his work.
Yeah.
It's just like, as far as the environment goes, I feel like if we just like half cleaned it up and just like made it respectful and made it less of like a party for some specific places that I've been to, like I almost don't go to some of them.
Yeah.
Because it's like I've been down there and it's just like, man, is this a house party? Or are we doing a First Friday art walk? Because if somebody comes in who like might want, now obviously this gets into talk of like gentrification and stuff, but if somebody comes in and is like, there's potential here, let's dump some money and make this a dope art district. Like
yeah.
Kansas City, I've been to Kansas City before, and they have an art district where it's like funded and people have proper galleries, and it's the dopest art you've ever seen. It's street art, it's performances out on the street. It's just the coolest thing ever. It's like Pittsburgh's almost there. They just need some type of like push. And I'm not saying I'm the answer. I just want to put my work out there and be like,
yeah,
I'm doing this.
You want to be a participant in trying to cultivate that respect.
And I don't want to come in this half-assed. Like I'm coming into this like with like the type of work I'm making because I'm trying my absolute hardest with every painting I make. I am not just putting shit out to put it out.
Yeah.
It's like I want someone to see how hard I'm trying and be like, I got to try harder too. You know, like there is potential here. Like, let's really push it. You know, it's like, so I do get how it could come off as like what gives me the right, but I just feel like being in the art community and seeing it and being kind of like an observer of it as well as a participant in it. I'm just like, man, we're close. Like, it's just like, if we can get together and just try a little bit harder, push a little bit harder, allocate the resources, like be more of a friend to one another. If you have a platform, you know what I mean? It's like something like that. Like, it's like the genuine respect and energy that you want to give to it, because like
you want it to be authentic, and you want it to be, you know, back to the respect and the honor behind it.
And money muddies it up. You
Yeah.
know? If it's all about the money, like, are we making good art? You know, we're making art, that's for sure. Is it something that's going to feed somebody, or is it just a Hobby Lobby painting that someone wants in their house? And that's fine too, but is that what we want to do with the First Fridays, or is that what we want to do with the art district? Like, what do we want down there? You know, you can go get a cow painting at Hobby Lobby with some paint marks on it for $250.
Yeah.
Is that what you want? Like, are you going to come down to a street artist to ask that? Like, know your market, you know, who are you asking for what, and who are we selling to? What's the audience? You know, like, who do I want to come see the show? I want it to be people who really appreciate art. I want it to be people of the city who are going to be down there. You know, like, it's almost like, don't come to my show looking for the Hobby Lobby art. You know, like, I go to Hobby Lobby all the time. That's not to knock it. You know, I'm just like,
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to touch on, but it's, you know,
it's interesting to hear, because it's like, I don't like highlighting things in a almost like a negative way, but it's like, I know that, I feel like I don't even want to say it, but like, you know, I'll cut it out, but it's like, you know, Baron Batch is a perfect example.
That's who I'm talking about.
I know. And I feel like, as, you know, and fuck it, I'll leave this in because it's true, because, you know, he's one of the most regarded artists in the city.
He's got a monopoly on the city.
Yeah, he got a monopoly, but it's like, his story is different. But and I have a lot of friends who, are in the graffiti scene who are real artists, through and through, 100%. And I see, a dude like that, and that it's getting a lot more shine than some people that are like technically better and do more what's the word, more difficult, more kind of a way. But it's so weird to kind of and that's why like I try to be more open-minded about it, because like no one really knows what these people's intentions are.
I 100% right. And I don't want to attack anyone and say that they should change who they are and they should change their art.
I get that.
It's just, if I say something that challenges what you make, I'm not saying it because I disrespect you. I'm saying it because I respect you and what you have. Like, it's what I've learned from Baron's work is that he is a machine.
Yeah.
He is like an art machine. He pumps work out, and that is part of his art. Like, the amount of what he does and at the speed and at the efficiency, that is part of it. But when you walk around the city and you walk into 15, 20 different coffee shops and they all have his work in, I'm not questioning Baron. I'm questioning the city.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and that's a fair way to say that.
I'm like, you don't see what's happening. Like, you walked on the strip to Sugar's Arts there. Now, that's not to say if all of these places were hitting me up, all 20 of them, would I say no? Because I have 20, like, you can't blame him. But the reality is that for some people who don't have an immediate access into art, who think that art is this or is that, he is, whether he likes to accept it or not, a massive bridge and a huge catalyst for art in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And for that to be the staple point, I get competitive over that, because I'm like, it's not that it could be so much better. I just think it could be greater. Like, it could expand and go beyond. And, like I said, I don't want to have him change his art. I used to talk to him a while ago on Twitter and stuff like that. I've seen him at coffee shops. It's always respect when I see him. Like, I think what he does is dope, but it also comes down to, like, I almost would like want to challenge him and be like, dude, sit down, spend a year on one piece. Like, dude, what would that look like? Like, does he know that? Who knows if he even wants to? I'm not going to tell him what to do, but what would it look like if you sat and painted if he sat and painted one of his tigers for a year, and just every moment he thought he was finished, look deeper, put another layer. What tricks can you do? Like, if that's his process and that's his style, I do accept it. However, in my process, I try to be the antithesis of a machine. Yeah. Right. That's part of the reason why I'm biased against Andy Warhol, is because what he did for the culture and what he did for, like, the culture of art and society and all of that stuff, it's hands down one of the most influential artists of all time. Just even ready-made art, like the Campbell soup can. Take a photo of it, print it. That's art. Yeah. That changed, like, the structure of the things that we do right now. Like, Miller Lite is an art form at a Super Bowl commercial because Andy Warhol flipped that on its head. He was like, oh, you can look at all this stuff like art? That's crazy. Baron's a similar thing, because he's Andy Warhol used to pump stuff out. We're gonna do this one by one by one, and it's just, we're gonna run it, and there's gonna be people making it, and there's gonna be people doing this, and I'm gonna come by and touch this one. I'm gonna knock out 35 paintings in a day. I'm gonna knock out 100 paintings in a day, and it's like, I personally am just the opposite of that. Yeah, I wanna spend time on something. I want it to teach me something, so that when somebody sees it, I want them to almost like in a cheesy way. Like, I want them to get something deep from it. I want them to I want it to sit in their house for a year, and a year later find something new and be like, wow, like, I want to kind of like touch people, move people, That's not to say his work doesn't, because I've found super dope things in his work. But,
I understand that. Yeah. It's interesting to hear, though, from like a different perspective, because I've seen the conversations online about it between artists and he's definitely not a favored person in the art scene.
Man, I've gotten into talks with him in comment sections a while ago, and it made our way into DMs and stuff. And it was always respect, but you're kind of right. And
I am right. Like I am right about it because but I also try to be fair, and I also try to think that like even though it's not something that I understand,
right, and
it's not something that I could see as clearly as someone that's an artist. There's something that, I just feel like that, I don't know. It's such a hard thing to talk about because it's like, I got people that I'm like real good friends with that are fucking animals. You know what I mean? Animals that people don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Some people don't want to be known. Yeah.
And exactly. I mean, like even the people that might want to be known, it's like, he, like you said, that he has a stranglehold, and it's a
monopoly. I would argue.
And it's crazy to think about that. And I know there's people that I interviewed who, reach out to him and say like, let's fucking have a battle right now. Yeah. And everyone got, and you got rights to do that.
Well, what gives us the right is the fact that he's in the art community.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I am too.
Yeah.
So you're my peer.
Exactly.
Whether or not you're a high status peer, low status peer, you're my fucking peer.
Yeah.
So if it may not matter what I say at all,
and that's fine.
But like I feel inclined to say it because it's in the city I live in. It's around the people that I'm around.
Well, I think it's apparent that he has some sort of there's some sort of favoritism towards his work and his style, and whether it be,
it's easy. It's an easy style.
I'm not trying to like, take away what the dude is doing or like what he's doing. But like, I know it's a delicate subject, definitely around artists.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's fair to debate. You know what I say? Like I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying
I would fucking love to just, man, I've seen him at places and I've just been like, yo, what's up, man? He's like, what's up? And I could just tell the vibe is just keep it moving, like I would love to sit down and just talk for like a long time.
I know.
I've already kind of made that known, like when we talked years ago over DMs and stuff, but it's just like, I obviously know he's passionate, but I'm like passionate and competitive. And I'm like, let's go. Like if I just feel like if someone has that platform, he's obviously doing so many things with the kids and different things with the community and putting art in areas that needs art. Like that's so respectable. That's what I'd be doing if I had it. But it's also like, let's push it. Like, what can I do to, lift up other people, flip this thing upside down, dude. Let's change it. Like let's make it in New York or in LA, not in that big business type of way, but let's make it a city that people look at from the outside and go, that's an art city. Like, let's do that. Let's not make it say like, oh, that's the city that has the elephant down south side. It's a dope picture, but let's grow it. It's probably not that easy. I'm probably skimming over a million things and stuff, and I understand that, but I'm passionate, man. I just like,
and that's fair. You have every right to be.
Sometimes I'm like, man,
I'm passionate about people that got podcasts in the city. You know what I mean? But I always try to, I don't know. I in my older years, growing up, I try to like really, think about, because, like I said, I got graffiti, like real good friends that like, they fucking hate him. You know what I mean? And it's fair for them to do that. It's fair for you to feel a certain way about him because, you're in that world. But I also try to think, in that mindset of him and like what he thinks about it. And it's like, who's to say that he's not, feeling the same type of way that you're feeling?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And if we sat down, we might learn that about each other.
100%.
That's something I'm always open to as well. Like we might have the greatest conversation ever.
You don't even know how many times I've gotten DMs that say like, why haven't you had Baron Batch on here yet? And I feel like it would be I don't think he would want to do it, but like, I also, I don't know. It's such a weird topic. I want to move beyond the topic.
Yeah, no doubt. I just knew that I would probably end up talking about something about the Pittsburgh art world, and that's just how I feel.
And that's fair. And I feel like that you're not the only one that feels like that.
No, I know I'm not.
And that's fair to say.
And I'm not afraid to say it. It's I don't want to be like, oh, I'll say, I think it would big man on the block. No, like I'm open to talk about anything. Like,
and I feel like me not, talking about this or bringing it up in that situation with what you're, with what you're describing, I feel like it would be, unauthentic of me to not
It's facts.
discuss that.
For sure.
Because, people know what it is.
Yeah.
Artists that listen to this, they know exactly what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that there's a level of respect about, discussing things like that because, like you said,
No doubt.
there's a, dudes playing with a different sort of deck than the rest of us are.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's fair. Now, like, what are your goals as an artist? Like as you have this show, obviously, you got these pieces, you're going to do this show yourself. You're going to create more works of art for this show. But as a painter, like, what is your goals with all this?
I have kind of goals and then subtext of goals. My goal first and foremost with the show is to obviously I want to have one of the best shows in Pittsburgh that people can remember in a long time, and I think it's gearing up for that. I want to make people feel good. I want to bring people together, have a good time. I want to maybe sell some work, but that's secondary. I want people to see my stuff, and I want to talk. My favorite thing is talking about my painting with somebody in front of it and hearing what they have to say about it. So that's number one goal, is to just bring people together, have a fantastic show, and hear people's perspectives. But beyond that, I want to be a muralist. I want to be a full-time painter. I want to be a full-time sculptor. And eventually, like, I look at it this way, like, if they have a retrospective of my life when I'm like 85, right? And they like look back through all the work, I want to be able to put together a show that, again, people are coming out for, maybe even out of state, maybe at certain galleries that I've always revered and respected, maybe at museums. Like, it's kind of goals like that. I can't tell you why I've been inclined for that, but I've been inclined for that feeling intuitively that that's where I want my work to go. That's where I want my work to head. It's like almost like delusions of grandeur, as a goal. It's like having that is motivating to me, and feeling like, if one person sees it, I'm still fulfilled. If multiple people see it, I'm still fulfilled because I made it for me. But the goal is to, I like the list of names, right? I've always said this, and it's hard to not sound like arrogant or whatever, but there's like Rembrandt, Picasso, and Dali. I would like my name when I'm dead to be on that list. Like,
I feel like it would be, it would, do yourself a disservice to not want to do that.
Exactly. I why not? Like, it's the same way jazz.
Why not me?
Jazz and I will always gas each other up like that. Like,
bro, why not you? Why not anyone?
Exactly.
And I feel like that's the mentality you got to do.
Yeah. If I was going in it being like, I want to be all right.
Dude, who's going to work harder for you than yourself?
Yeah, like,
who believes in you more than yourself?
Right. So sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, like, that's the basis of everything.
Yeah.
Anyone that there's some sort of stubbornness or some sort of, just arrogance that you need to have to, want to say that I'm going to be the fucking best. And I have this about the podcast. Like, I'm going to say, like, I feel like I'm the best at this in the city. I want to be the best at this in the city. I want to do everything I can to be able to keep doing this and keep being able to be that platform to kind of, I want, my goal is to be on every business's page that I want to talk to. I want them to want to have an episode with me to be able to tell their story, because there's not other ways. I don't know. It's just, I that's what I want. And I feel like it would be dumb of us to not feel like that.
Yeah, exactly. And to not acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not afraid to be like, I want my work to be in museums. That's a huge goal of mine. Like, I'll cry that. I'm going to cry when that happens. It's going to mean so much to me, because it's been a goal since I started painting, when I was like, this clicks. This is what I want to do,
Yeah.
And then I don't want that just because of like self-gratification. I don't want that just to be like, oh, I am everything I thought I was. I made it to where I want to go. I want to do it because what I believe comes with something like that is a certain platform. And I want to be able, and this is something that Jazz and I always talk about when they're together, we want to bring it back to Pittsburgh. We want to open up galleries. I want to own a gallery. I want to own buildings or just a building, and have a massive gallery downstairs, studio middle, and I live up top. Like, I want to be able to, if I can, house other artists. I want to be able to bring an artist in, two artists in, and show them, no cost to them. Like, I want to be able to, like, people say I want to give back, but it's like, I just want to give. Like, I don't, Like, I want to be able to take an artist and be like, look, I was once where you were.
Yeah.
And I know you probably don't have any money. Show for free. I take no gallery commission, because hopefully at that point I am established to where I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, skimming off the top of some young kid that's trying to just make something happen.
And some people, and I get why galleries have to do that. They got to make money. They're not where they want to be. Everyone has those dreams and those goals. I'm sure they would like to have. I'm sure some people would like to do that, but that's like an ultimate goal. Like, I'd like to be like 65 years old, and
you want to be the person that you hope that you wish that you would be able to find whenever you were.
It's like, which is unlucky, like I want to become that if it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to give people the platform and the handout and to be like, look, this is what works for me. Here's the blueprints,
100%,
and
put in the work.
Not just because it's like self-gratifying, because look, now if I do that, look how that's a place in Pittsburgh now.
Yeah.
And now how many people even younger than the person I'm trying to put on want to be an artist? Like, I think art is powerful, and I think a lot of people can relate to it, no matter what style it is, no matter what art form, whether it's music, whether it's, painting, sculptures, poetry, books, anything, man. And I think that focusing on that and gearing a city and an atmosphere, even a small area in a city, towards that is so helpful for people. It's so helpful. It saved my life. Like, I legitimately think if I did not find art and I would be very different, man. I would just, my family has like a history of like addicts and stuff, and my dad and all this. Like, I could see myself down that path very quickly, very easily, especially with my mentality and, how I have to watch myself around certain things and, like, very actively watch myself, like, I could just tell if I didn't have art in my life, there would be a massive void, and I'd be very unhappy, and I wouldn't have passion. And I'd like to be like, look, I'm a facilitator in this. I would like to give you this just because I know what it means for you.
Yeah. You want to champion that. For other people. Yeah,
for sure. That's a huge goal. That's probably the overarching goal. That is why I want to do a show. It is why I'm doing all the microcosm steps and staircases to try and climb up to that point at one point,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love everything about it.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
I just feel like that, I don't know, dude. I do. I love hearing about it. I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing why people feel this way, because I don't know, dude, there's no right or wrong. Like, we talked about all kinds of stuff, and it's there's no right or wrong, but it's just like the way it is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear it, whether it be what you want to hear or not. Right. But I mean, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited. I'll definitely be there. For the show,
yeah.
It'll be good.
Yeah, for the show. I'm excited to show people what I got. I've always done those portraits, but this is not, there'll be a couple portraits in there, but it's mostly going to be, classical work, surreal work, all kinds of newer things that I don't know if, people have. There's definitely not a lot of it around the city. I'll say that much. Like, is for what I want to put out there. Like, I'm pretty well versed in what's around and who makes what. Yeah. And I know that there's a lane for this.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen anything like your work, honestly. I really don't. And I'd be 100% honest. I just really don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
Yeah. I'm hoping that's the case, because that's where I want to fit in. Right?
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. We gotta keep it pushing, because we're already at 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So hopefully you didn't have to be anywhere, but
no, that's crazy. Holy shit. Damn.
I know.
Damn.
Okay. So Love Letters, April 14th, Studio 4.
Yep.
Where's that studio at?
Bloomfield,
Pittsburgh,
Pennsylvania. Yep.
Okay. Now, I mean, you ready for the ending segment?
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like we got to get to it, because I could talk to you forever.
No,
same thing with jazz, dude. I felt the same way, because, like,
man, you have these conversations that they're not about anything. They kind of float.
Yeah, I love it.
And that area is.
I think that's why. I'm doing something different that I don't think anyone else is doing here too.
Right.
Is like being able to have that freedom to, explore these thoughts and talk about things that people might not want to talk about all the time.
Yeah, man. Wow, 2.5 hours. That's
2.5 hours.
Respect to you and me. That's awesome, man. You're great, man. I appreciate this very much.
All right. Okay. Ending segment that I do with everyone is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions.
Man, I knew this was coming. I've listened to enough.
Desert Island questions. Whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category, 3 movies to take with you. No idea what it could be.
Oh man, I thought of this a little bit. So I go with Friday, the original Friday, Ice Cube, Chris Tucker.
Love it.
I'd probably go Goodfellas.
Love it.
It's just like family. My mom loved that movie. It's like kind of like a kid. I watched when I was a kid,
Yeah.
And that's like funny. And then it's like on that other end of like kind of gangster stuff. Probably in the middle, I go like Forrest Gump, something like classic like that.
Forrest
like
Gump,
it's
dude.
funny, it's stupid, it's
So
social
good.
context. It's
I remember
great.
whenever I was a young kid, I thought that was all accurate. I thought that was a historical movie. I swear to God.
So funny, man.
And it's funny to think about that. Those are good choices. Those are good. That's a good variety right there.
Yeah.
I could get into that. Okay. Second category. Do you read it all?
Excerpts
Fair.
and stuff. Yeah.
Now, what can we do? Let's say 3 of your favorite video games.
Oh man, Call of Duty 4.
Which one? Which
Modern
one is-
Warfare, the original COD 4.
What are some levels on that? Is that the one with Dome?
Yeah, that's the one with shipment and stuff like that. Like old school. It's like favela.
Yeah. Okay, I know who you are.
I think something like that. Crash and stuff like that.
See, like I wasn't a huge Crash with the planes and the
Yeah,
helicopters.
that's the original one.
Okay,
Yeah, they brought it back, but
Yeah.
that's the original one. And then I'd probably say Steep, a snowboarding game.
Never heard of that.
Steep's like a immersive snowboarding game.
Wow.
It's super cool. They throw you at the top of the mountain, and it's just like you play music in your headphones while you play it, and it's just like really pretty. It's like a fun experience.
Wow.
And for the last one, like something crazy I can get into, like Fallout 3 or something like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was never a huge video game guy, but I've been recently trying to push away the urge to play a couple that I've heard about.
Yeah.
There's this game called The Forest. Sounds dope.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
like people get this dude's like I guess a plane crashes and him and his son are on this like deserted island and his son
wow.
gets taken by cannibals. So you're trying to survive. I'm real big into like survival type shit.
Like The Last of Us or something. Like you watch that series? Or
Yeah,
something?
that show is dope, but I love like Castaway,
Oh, yeah,
Alone,
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just love survival shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't get into video games. I physically and mentally cannot give myself that. I can't waste time doing that shit. But third category, 3 CDs to take on a desert island.
Oh man, yeah. This is the one I was harping over for like the last week. I still haven't decided, but I know I have to go with Pilot Talk 1 by Currency.
Okay.
That's Wiz's old, old kind of collaborator, but Pilot Talk with Currency is just too good.
Yeah, Currency. I always say Currency is the perfect. If I could choose a level of fame, perfect.
Yes, exactly.
He is the perfect.
And for some reason, I don't even know why, I just can't stop. I've listened to that since I was 16, and I just haven't stopped.
I mean, how couldn't you want to? Dude's the coolest dude out there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Just cleaning his
He has
cars.
an Instagram page with his cars where he races.
Yeah,
them
the
and shit.
Matchbox ones.
Yeah.
Dude's a gangster.
Yeah,
You
so
can't beat that.
have to do that. That has features too. Like I need a J Electronica verse.
Okay.
So that has one, and it's one of the best. So that was a huge reason why too. Second one's Illmatic,
Oh yeah, that's
because
good.
I cannot shut that album off.
Classic.
And so then it's like, do you want 3 rap albums forever, man? Forever, like just rap forever. I could do another one, which would be like Swimming,
Oh yeah.
or like Mad Villain. But I'd probably I'll like stuff Swimming in my sock.
Yeah, I'll give you that one too.
So my buddy said, he was like, I'd take another one in my sock because come on, I was like, I'm gonna use that.
I'm a big Mac guy.
But I'd probably take just because like Lumineers, maybe like a Cleopatra album or something like that.
That's good.
Just
Something a
change
little
up the
different.
sound. Yeah, like there's some hardcore stuff on Illmatic. There's some hardcore stuff in Pilot Talk, and then you need some light stuff, man.
I'm curious. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
I went to, so I only did Mr. Small shows. It's like kind of a concert. It's like a show. You know, like concert. I've only been to the Lumineers.
Okay.
And I've been to camp.
Well, shows like.
Yeah.
Well, what's your favorite show you've ever been to?
Probably the best one was Lumineers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but then it's kind of tied with Rock. I saw Rakim.
Oh, really?
At Mr. Smalls. Yeah.
Wow.
And that was fucking epic. It was a different feel. Like
Yeah.
I had never been to a concert like the Lumineers because I just recently got into them like the past like 5 years. But when I saw Rakim, I was like a young kid Like,
that's dope.
and I was like, this is amazing. Like, they brought out a guy and they were playing Don't Sweat the Technique with Pete Rock and stuff like that. And like, this dude was on crutches and doing breakdancing on crutches, and the whole atmosphere was like, I was like, man, this is amazing. And I saw Atmosphere.
That would have been a dope one.
That was cool.
Yeah.
And but yeah, Rakim and Lumineers probably. Yeah. I'm not huge on concerts. But
That's all right. Yeah. I'm very picky. You know,
Yeah.
it takes me a lot to get down into a big social scene like that.
Yeah.
But that's fair. Okay, third to last question is the death row meal.
Oh boy.
Death row, you get appetizer, main course, and a dessert.
Appetizer, main course, and a dessert. Appetizer would probably be like crab rangoons.
Yeah, amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
Dessert would have to just be like man, I guess I like cheesecake. Probably just like a cheesecake.
Yeah.
Just like plain, probably.
That's good.
Nothing else. Just
Okay.
regular graham cracker cheesecake, and then, man, for it'd be hard. Maybe some like sushi or like just like a vegetable bowl. Maybe that I cook up at my house. Just like veggies and Brussels sprouts and eggs, beans.
That's a good answer.
Just like something
stir fry.
Just like a ton of rice. Just like a ton of rice. I could pick some Thai meals. Like I went to Thailand. I could pick some Thai meals, but yeah, probably just go with the regular veggies.
Okay.
Yeah.
The most telling question that you could ever do. You're getting ready to go on a road trip, and you go into a gas station. You got to pick a snack.
Just one?
Are you going to say combos?
No, just no.
I thought one snack.
Cosmic brownie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Man, those are one things that as a fat kid growing up, hated them.
Really?
I would rather eat broccoli than a cosmic brownie.
I still eat them today. Like I probably had one like 3 days ago.
It's like what you buy for a wax melter.
Yeah,
you know what
it's
I mean?
horrible, dude. It's I eat it and I know it. My buddy for Christmas got me 2 boxes of them.
That's a good buddy.
I was like, this is fucked up. He's like, how long does it last you?
I was a zebra cake guy.
Oh, those too. Yeah.
Zebra cakes were fire. Ho-hos, you know.
You know what I also like from gas stations is the cream cheese croissants, the shitty ones, like
that are absolutely terrible for you.
So fake.
Yeah, so bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to get wild on them.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last question that I ask everyone is: if you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh man. Wow. I never thought of that. Oh wait, yeah, I know Jazz said Tesla. That's a good one.
It's a wild dude.
I have to go. I'll just talk to Jazz. I won't talk to Tesla. I'll be like, what do you say? Man, I don't know. It'd have to probably be an artist.
Yeah, that was my next question I was going to ask because I forgot. Was who's like your favorite artist if you had to choose?
Man, probably Dolly. Just because I've read a lot of his like diaries and his books, and he's so insane.
Yeah.
That, like,
it'd be fascinating to hear about.
I wouldn't choose him for the conversation though, because he's too nuts.
Yeah.
Like I'll like go sit down with him in a conversation. We'll bring a fucking anteater and like we won't talk about anything. He'll just like be like yelling.
It's like
shit.
talking to Andy Kaufman.
I'd probably do something like Michelangelo or something. I just want to know how the fuck you do all that stuff. You know, like that's some of that stuff.
Back then, whenever you don't have like inspiration like that.
Yeah, it'd probably be useless like now, like in 2023, because we have so much shit. But like,
it'd still be fascinating.
It'd be cool to hear from somebody like that, or Da Vinci. You know, someone like that, like someone that's really like known as like a past like. That's kind of like what the show's about, like some Da Vinci stuff. Like I got some Da Vinci sketches in a lot of the paintings, and probably him. I'd go with him.
I love it.
Da Vinci, yeah. I got to learn to speak Italian.
Learn to speak Italian. Dude, honestly, I couldn't thank you enough for coming over and talking to me.
Man, I really apprete it, man. I
hope that
2.5 hours is crazy. Can't believe it. I was like, we're probably at an hour, but
yeah, right.
I'm very grateful. I've never done this before, and yeah, I'm excited.
I think you did a good job at it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I think you did a good job at kind of explaining, the method behind your madness.
If there is one, yeah.
If there is one. You're still trying to figure it out.
Always.
Take a second, promote the show, promote where people could see your artwork, website, anything you got.
Well, my website is tylerpodomik.art.com. So TylerPodomik art.com. Instagram is the same, Tyler Podomik. And the show is April 14th. It's in Bloomfield in Pittsburgh at Studio 4. and I think it's going to be up for about a month. The opening is 5:30 to 10:30. April 14th is a Friday, so most people have Fridays free as long as it's well enough ahead of time. So mark your calendar. I really appreciate it if you come out. I'm trying to get a lot of people there, quality people. Trying to see a lot of people in that environment and talk to a lot of people. So I'm really excited to have the show there too. Cameron Schmidt and Noah are pretty cool people. So I'm thankful for them to allow me to have this, my first solo exhibition in Pittsburgh. I haven't had a show kind of in Pittsburgh ever before. So there's a lot of people who've been following me for a while that I'm excited to get to have them come out and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. Maybe we'll do another one later about climbing.
Hell yeah.
I thought about it. I was like,
funny.
We'll get into that, but you can't. That's you never know what we're going to talk about. But yeah, man, I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Everyone else that's listening, appreciate it as usual. Each and every week, back with another guest doing dope things in the city, and appreciate you listening. So I'll call you right back.